chosen ones. Have you shared a dream so dear to your heart, only to watch it unravel before your eyes? Have you spoken your deepest intentions aloud, only to feel an invisible resistance, as if the very act of revealing them drained them of their power? There is an ancient wisdom, one that the spiritually awakened have always known. Silence is a shield. It is a sacred container that protects what is still in the process of becoming. When you speak too soon, you expose your vision to forces that may not support it. Doubt, skepticism, envy, or even well-meaning voices that unknowingly plant seeds of hesitation in your mind. But when you keep your dreams guarded in stillness, you give them the space to grow strong, undisturbed by external interference. The Bible reminds us, "Whoever guards his mouth preserves his life. He who opens wide his lips comes to ruin." Your dreams are like fragile seeds planted in the soil. A farmer does not dig up the seed every day to see if it is growing. He trusts the process, knowing that in the right time, the roots will strengthen and the plant will break through the surface. In the same way, the visions God has placed in your heart need protection, not premature exposure. Nehemiah's story is a powerful testament to the wisdom of silent preparation and the importance of moving with discernment. When he set out to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, he did not rush to announce his plans to the world. Instead, he moved in secrecy, taking time to assess the situation, pray, and seek divine guidance before taking action. He understood that not everyone would support his mission, and that opposition was inevitable. True enough, resistance arose in the form of Sanballat and Tobiah, men who not only ridiculed his efforts but actively sought to undermine his work. However, Nehemiah was not shaken by their words, nor did he allow their distractions to pull him away from what God had called him to do. He knew that his purpose did not require validation from others. It only required obedience and faith in God's timing. Rather than engaging in arguments or defending himself against his critics, Nehemiah remained steadfast. He let his actions speak louder than words, trusting that his success would be evident in time. His approach was not one of loud proclamations or seeking public approval, but of careful strategy, unwavering faith, and reliance on God's divine favor. Against all odds, the walls of Jerusalem were restored, not because Nehemiah sought recognition, but because he trusted in the process and in the power of silent preparation. His victory was not in making noise, but in moving wisely, allowing his faith and diligence to bring forth the results that no enemy could deny. Nehemiah's story teaches us a vital lesson. When God gives us a vision, we must protect it. Not every idea, dream, or purpose is meant to be shared prematurely. When we move in silence, we create a space where our plans can develop without interference. We stay focused without being burdened by the doubts and opinions of others. In a world that often pressures us to broadcast every step of our journey to seek external validation, to prove our worth, or to gain approval, Nehemiah reminds us that true progress happens in the unseen moments. It is in the quiet, behind the scenes, where faith, preparation, and obedience align to bring forth victory in God's perfect timing. His life is proof that when we trust in God's process and move with wisdom, the fruits of our labor will be undeniable. We do not need to convince anyone of what God has called us to do. Our results will speak for themselves. Like Nehemiah, we must learn to guard our purpose, to work diligently in the background, and to trust that when the time is right, God will reveal our success in a way that no one can ignore. Joseph's story also is a lesson on the cost of speaking too soon. Gifted with prophetic dreams from God, Joseph saw visions of his future greatness, where his brothers would one day bow before him. In his youthful eagerness, he shared these dreams openly, believing they would be met with understanding. Instead, his words stirred jealousy and resentment among his brothers, leading them to betray him, throw him into a pit, and sell him into slavery. What could have been a direct path to his destiny became a long and painful journey filled with trials, false accusations, imprisonment, and years of uncertainty. Though God's plan for Joseph remained intact, his early revelation of his dreams brought unnecessary hardship. His story serves as a reminder that not everyone is ready to hear what God has placed in our hearts. Some will doubt, others will mock, and some, even unknowingly, may become obstacles on our path. Wisdom teaches us that not every vision is meant to be shared prematurely. Just as a seed needs time to take root before it emerges from the soil, our dreams require quiet cultivation before they are revealed. Had Joseph kept his dreams close to his heart, he may have avoided the betrayal that altered the course of his journey. However, despite the setbacks, God's purpose for him was ultimately fulfilled. He rose to power in Egypt, saved nations from famine, and was eventually reconciled with his brothers. His life is proof that what God ordains cannot be stopped, but it is also a lesson in discernment. Timing matters, and silence can be a form of divine protection. When we trust God's process, rather than seeking immediate recognition, our destiny unfolds in perfect alignment with His will. Silence is far more than the absence of words. It is a powerful shield that protects our dreams, our purpose, and our spiritual journey. When we speak too soon, we expose our visions to forces that may not support them. Doubt, skepticism, and even jealousy can act as unseen weights, pulling our aspirations off course before they have had the chance to take root. Just as a young plant is vulnerable before its roots are firmly established, our dreams require time, care, and a period of quiet growth before they are ready to face the world. The Bible teaches us that wisdom is found in restraint, reminding us in Proverbs 17:27 through 28 that, "The one who has knowledge uses words with restraint, and whoever has understanding is even-tempered. Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues." Keeping quiet does not mean lacking confidence. On the contrary, it is an act of discernment, a way to safeguard what is still growing. A farmer does not dig up a seed every day to check its progress because he understands that growth happens beneath the surface, where no one can see. He trusts that in the right time, the roots will strengthen, and the plant will break through the soil. In the same way, the visions God has placed in our hearts require protection, not premature exposure. Sharing our plans too soon can invite doubt, criticism, or interference, making it harder for us to stay focused on what God has called us to do. Moving in wisdom means recognizing that not everyone is meant to hear or understand our purpose. Some people, even with good intentions, may plant seeds of doubt or distraction that lead us away from our divine path. They may question our abilities, encourage us to take an easier route, or suggest compromises that weaken our faith. This is why we must be careful about who we allow into the sacred space of our dreams. Nehemiah, for example, rebuilt Jerusalem's walls in silence, keeping his plans hidden from his enemies until the right time. Because he moved with discretion, he was able to complete his mission without unnecessary obstacles. Joseph, on the other hand, spoke too soon about the dreams God had given him, and as a result, his journey was filled with hardship and betrayal. Though God's plan for Joseph was never destroyed, his path became more difficult because he revealed his vision before the appointed time. Silence is not weakness. It is strength, wisdom, and a form of spiritual protection. It is a sacred space where faith is built, purpose is refined, and destiny is nurtured. Just as a sculptor works on his masterpiece in private before revealing it to the world, we must allow God to shape our journey in the unseen before stepping into the fullness of His plan. When we move in wisdom and patience, we allow God's timing to work in our favor, ensuring that our dreams flourish without unnecessary resistance. Trust in His process, guard your vision, and know that when the time is right, what is meant for you will come to pass in a way that no one can deny. Jesus demonstrated the power of silence in the most pivotal moments of His life, showing that true strength does not always require words. Before His crucifixion, when He stood before Pilate, falsely accused and surrounded by voices demanding his fate, he did not argue, plead, or seek validation. Instead, he remained silent. Matthew 27:14 tells us, "But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor." His silence was not weakness, it was power. It was a profound declaration that truth does not always need to be defended, for it is upheld by divine authority. When we are certain of our purpose, we do not need to convince others. Jesus understood that the will of God would prevail, regardless of human opinions, accusations, or opposition. His restraint teaches us a crucial lesson. Not every situation requires a response, and sometimes silence is the greatest act of wisdom. In our own lives, we often feel the need to explain, justify, or prove ourselves to those who misunderstand us. But Jesus shows us that when we walk in divine purpose, we do not need the approval of man. His silence before the storm of his crucifixion was an act of faith, trust, and surrender to God's plan. Likewise, we must learn to discern when to speak and when to be still, when to defend ourselves, and when to let God fight our battles. The world may demand an explanation, but when we are aligned with God's will, our obedience speaks louder than any words ever could. True power is not in noise but in quiet confidence, knowing that God's plan will be fulfilled in His perfect timing. Trusting the process means believing that everything is unfolding in divine timing, even when we cannot see the full picture. In a world that values instant results, it can be difficult to wait for God's plan to unfold. We may feel the urge to rush ahead, to force outcomes, or to seek validation from others. But true faith requires patience. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." Just as a seed takes time to grow beneath the soil before it emerges, our dreams and purpose require unseen preparation before they manifest. Many of the greatest figures in the Bible had to endure long periods of waiting before stepping into their calling. Joseph spent years in prison before becoming a ruler in Egypt. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before leading the Israelites to freedom. David was anointed king but did not take the throne immediately. He faced battles, rejection, and hardships before his destiny was fulfilled. Their stories remind us that God's delays are not His denials. Every challenge, every season of waiting, and every moment of uncertainty serves a greater purpose, shaping us into the people we need to be for the blessings ahead. When we rush the process, we risk stepping into something before we are truly ready. Imagine a tree trying to bear fruit before its roots are strong. It would not survive the storms that come its way. In the same way, when we trust God's timing, we allow our faith, wisdom, and character to develop so that we can sustain the blessings He has prepared for us. Isaiah 40:31 encourages us, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Waiting is not passive. It is an active period of growth, refinement, and alignment with God's will. If you find yourself in a season of waiting, do not be discouraged. Your time will come, and when it does, it will be undeniable. The doors that God opens no one can shut, and the blessings He has prepared for you will arrive at the perfect moment. Until then, trust, prepare, and remain steadfast in faith. What is meant for you will not pass you by, and when God's appointed time arrives, everything will fall into place exactly as it was destined to be. If this message resonates with you, let's subscribe, share, and comment 7777 below as a bold declaration that you are ready to walk in wisdom, trust divine timing, and allow God to unfold His plan without interference. Your destiny is waiting. Will you protect it? Chosen ones, hear me. What I am about to share with you is not just another message. This is a divine revelation, a word you cannot afford to ignore. If you are here right now, it is not by coincidence. God Himself has led you to this moment because He knows this message is meant for you. Everything I am about to tell you is not my own wisdom. It is a divine instruction from the Almighty. The Word of God is alive, sharper than any two-edged sword. It carries the power to break chains, open doors, and lead you into your destiny. So listen closely. What you are about to hear has the power to transform your life forever. The Word of God is not just ink on paper. It breathes, it moves, it transforms. It is the same Word that spoke light into the darkness at the beginning of time. The same Word that healed the sick, raised the dead, and calmed the raging storms. And today, that same Word is coming to you, to breathe life into every dry place in your soul, to shatter every chain that has held you back, and to realign you with the purpose God set for you before the foundation of the world. So do not harden your heart. Do not let distractions steal this moment. Because when God speaks, mountains bow, demons tremble, and the heavens open. Right now, in this very moment, He is speaking directly to you. Will you listen? Will you receive it? I urge you, silence every distraction and open your heart. Receive this word with expectation, because when God speaks, everything changes. And today, change is coming to you. Have you ever found yourself asking, why is my life so difficult? Why does it feel like every burden is placed on my shoulders? Why am I constantly fighting battles that others seem to avoid? You look around and see people living with ease, seemingly untouched by the storms that rage around you. While others walk freely, you are carrying a weight so heavy that at times it feels unbearable. You struggle, you sacrifice, and you pour into others, yet you often feel unappreciated and unseen. You wonder why it always has to be you, the one who figures things out, the one who stands in the gap, the one who bears the weight of responsibility while others seem to drift through life without a care. Let me tell you why. Because you were chosen. You were never meant to walk an ordinary path. You were never meant to have an easy life. God has set you apart for something greater, and that greatness comes with a price. You are not just here to survive. You are here to build, to sustain, to multiply, and to establish something that will outlast you. That is why your battles are greater. That is why your storms are more intense. That is why the enemy has fought so hard to break you, because he knows the calling on your life is too powerful to be ignored. The struggles you face are not random. They are a necessary preparation. God is not punishing you. He is building you. Look at the foundation of a house. If the walls crack, they can be repaired. If the roof leaks, it can be fixed. But if the foundation is weak, the entire house will collapse. That is why your journey has been different, because you are a foundation. A family, a community, even a nation cannot stand without strong foundations, and you are one of those pillars. That is why you have endured rejection, isolation, and betrayal. That is why you have fought battles in silence while others remained oblivious. Because God is making you strong. Weak people cannot carry great responsibilities. Shallow people cannot uphold generations. Easily shaken people cannot be trusted with divine assignments. And so God has allowed you to be tested, refined, and molded into someone unshakable. When you look at the lives of those called by God, you will see the same pattern. Joseph was betrayed and thrown into a pit before he reached the palace. Moses was rejected and forced into the wilderness before he led Israel to freedom. David was hunted like a fugitive before he took his rightful place on the throne. Even Jesus himself, the Son of God, was despised, rejected, and abandoned in his darkest hour. Their struggles were not punishments, they were preparations. And your struggles are no different. The weight is heavy because the assignment is great. You are not just anyone. You are called. You are chosen. And if God has entrusted you with this burden, He has also given you the strength to carry it. Do not despise your battles. They are shaping you into the leader, the protector, the foundation that God designed you to be. Your hardship is not the end of your story. It is the preparation for something greater than you can imagine. When we think of a breadwinner, the world often defines it as someone who provides financially for their family. But in God's eyes, a true breadwinner is much more than just a provider of money and material needs. They are sustainers, multipliers, and preservers of destinies. They do not merely survive. They build, prepare, and ensure that what is entrusted to them is not only maintained but multiplied for future generations. One of the greatest biblical examples of a true breadwinner is Joseph. His story is not just about survival. It is about divine strategy, wisdom, and stewardship that saved not only a nation, but also the generations that followed. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. Yet through all of this, God was shaping him, preparing him for the moment when he would rise to become a leader who would sustain millions. During the years of abundance in Egypt, Joseph did not waste what he had. He stored it, managed it wisely, and prepared for the famine that was to come. Tells us that when the famine struck, while other lands suffered in lack, Egypt had food because of Joseph's foresight and divine wisdom. He did not just think about the present, he thought generationally. He did not just provide for his family, he positioned himself to sustain entire nations. This is what separates a mere provider from a true breadwinner. A provider gives what is needed for today. A breadwinner builds so that others will not lack tomorrow. Joseph's journey teaches us 3 critical lessons about what it means to be a true breadwinner. First, preparation is key. Breadwinners do not live just for the moment. They prepare for the future. Joseph did not wait until the famine came to act. He made strategic decisions long before the crisis arrived. Second, breadwinners know how to manage resources wisely. They are not wasteful, nor are they reckless. They recognize that what they have is not just for them, but for those they are called to sustain. Third, true breadwinners multiply. Joseph did not merely ensure survival. He used wisdom and divine strategy to turn a crisis into an opportunity for abundance. His leadership did not just feed people for a season, it preserved generations. This is your calling. You are not meant to live in survival mode, constantly struggling just to get by. You are meant to thrive, multiply, and build a legacy that will impact those who come after you. Like Joseph, God has placed in you the ability to create, sustain, and expand. But with that ability comes a responsibility to steward it wisely, to manage it with diligence, and to trust that God will provide the strength and wisdom needed to fulfill your assignment. What will you do with what God has given you? Will you merely survive, or will you rise as a true breadwinner, a foundation upon which generations can stand? The choice is yours. There are moments in life when the burdens we carry feel too heavy to bear. The pressures of responsibility, the weight of expectations, and the struggles that seem unending can leave us feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. In these moments, it's easy to wonder if we have the strength to continue. We question whether we're capable of handling everything that life throws our way. The nights feel longer, the days feel harder, and the hope that once burned brightly seems to flicker. But even in the heaviest moments, we are not alone. Throughout the Bible, we see countless examples of people who carried immense burdens. Moses, tasked with leading an entire nation through the wilderness. David, pursued by enemies while clinging to God's promises. Paul, imprisoned and beaten, yet steadfast in his faith. Yet in every struggle, God provided strength. He reminded them that they were never meant to carry their burdens alone. Jesus himself extended an invitation to the weary, saying, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This promise is not just for those in the past, it is for us today. When the weight feels unbearable, we must remember that we were never designed to carry it by ourselves. God invites us to lay our worries at his feet, to trust that he is strong enough to sustain us. This does not mean our struggles will instantly disappear, but it does mean we are held by a God who walks with us through every storm. Instead of relying on our own strength, we can lean on his. Instead of being crushed by our burdens, We can surrender them to the one who has already overcome the world. So if you find yourself weary, take heart. You are not alone, and you are not forgotten. The same God who strengthened Moses, guided David, and upheld Paul is holding you too. Lay your burdens before him and allow his peace to fill the places where fear and exhaustion once lived. The weight may be heavy, but his grace is always greater. Carrying the weight of your calling can feel overwhelming, but it is not meant to break you. It is meant to shape you. One of the first steps to walking in your calling without crumbling under its weight is to stop seeing yourself as a victim. Challenges will come, but they are not meant to destroy you. They are meant to refine you. Instead of asking, "Why me?" Зрение. Сдвиньте перспективу и спросите, «Господь, как я должен распоряжаться этим хорошо?» Every difficulty is an opportunity for growth, and every hardship is shaping you into the person God has called you to be. Another key to sustaining your calling is understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Even Jesus, who carried the greatest mission of all, regularly withdrew to pray. Taking time to recharge is not a sign of weakness, it is wisdom. When you prioritize your spiritual and emotional well-being, you are better equipped to fulfill your calling with endurance and joy. Beyond thinking about today, you must also think generationally. Proverbs 13:22 reminds us that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Your calling is not just about you, it is about those who will come after you. What you build today will impact future generations. Whether through your faith, your obedience, or the legacy you leave, your calling is part of a much bigger picture. Keeping this perspective will help you persevere when challenges arise. At times, you will be misunderstood. This is a reality that even great biblical leaders faced. Joseph was despised by his own brothers. David's family doubted his ability. Jesus himself was rejected in his hometown. Not everyone will understand your calling, and that is okay. You do not need validation from everyone, only faithfulness to the one who called you. Above all, remember that God is your ultimate source. You are not the one who sustains your calling. He is. Philippians 4:19 assures us that God will supply all your needs according to his riches and glory. You do not have to carry this weight alone. Surrender your burdens, trust in his provision, and walk forward with confidence, knowing that he who called you is faithful to sustain you. Heavenly Father, I come before you today, lifting up every person listening to this message, every man, every woman who carries the weight of provision for their family. Lord, you see their struggles, their silent prayers, and the burdens they carry. Many are weary, many feel overwhelmed, but you are their strength, their refuge, and their provider. Right now, in the mighty name of Jesus, I declare a breakthrough over their lives. Father, I pray that every chain of struggle be broken. Let every spirit of heaviness be lifted, and every financial burden be overturned. You are Jehovah Jireh, our provider, and I trust that you are already making a way where there seems to be no way. No attack of the enemy will prosper against them, for you are their shield and defender. Strengthen them, Lord, not just physically but emotionally and spiritually. Fill their hearts with peace and their minds with clarity. Let them know that they are not alone in this journey. Pour out supernatural provision, divine favor, and unexpected blessings over their lives. Open doors of opportunity, multiply the work of their hands, and guide them in wisdom as they steward their resources. Let them walk in victory, prosperity, and the fullness of their divine purpose. May they never forget that they are not just providing for their families. They are laying a foundation of faith, perseverance, and legacy. And Lord, I thank you for them. Thank you for their sacrifices, their love, and their dedication. May they feel seen, valued, and appreciated, not just by their families, but by you, the one who rewards those who trust in you. I declare over them today, they are chosen, they are covered, they are victorious. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. If this word spoke to you, let's subscribe, share, and sow into this mission, because you are not just a breadwinner. You are a history maker. God bless you. Chosen ones, today I want to share with you something powerful, something that many of us overlook, yet it holds the key to a profound transformation in your life. Have you ever wondered why your body keeps sending signals? That stubborn back pain, that constant neck tension, that overwhelming fatigue. What if these signals are more than just physical symptoms? Today, I'm not merely talking about physical health. I'm talking about the deep, mysterious connection between your body and your spirit. You see, the Bible tells us that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, a sacred dwelling place, carefully designed by God Himself. And just like a finely tuned instrument, your body manifests what your soul and spirit are quietly processing. Think about those moments when your chest tightens before a big decision, or how your shoulders ache from carrying burdens you never speak of. These aren't just coincidences, they're messages. Your spirit is calling for your attention, urging you to pause and listen. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal how each part of your body speaks to you through pain, tension, and discomfort. You'll discover how the pain you've been experiencing can guide you toward deeper healing, highlighting areas of your life that desperately need spiritual restoration. This isn't just about physical healing. It's about tuning into your body's language, a language deeply connected to your soul and your relationship with God. So, chosen one, activate the notification bell, subscribe now, and join me on this transformative journey, because understanding these signals could change your life forever. Your headache. A message from your mind. Let's pause to consider that persistent headache, the one that always seems to strike just when your mind is filled with worry and anxiety. It's not mere coincidence. Your mind, much like a delicate cup, can hold only so many burdens, worries, and thoughts before it inevitably overflows. Each anxious thought, each replayed conversation, every sleepless night of overthinking adds another drop to this already full vessel. And when your mind becomes overloaded, the overflow comes not as tears or words, but as physical pain. The pounding in your head isn't just a headache. It's your spirit's urgent cry for relief. How often have you found yourself awake at night, replaying conversations, stressing over finances, or fearing what tomorrow may bring? The Bible gently reminds us, do not be anxious about anything. Yet our minds often race with anxiety over everything, from bills and family to career and relationships. You feel overwhelmed because you're attempting to control the uncontrollable, carrying burdens that only God was meant to shoulder. Medication can mask the symptoms temporarily, much like wiping up water without turning off the faucet. But unless the root issue is addressed, the pain will return. Jesus lovingly invites, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." He spoke not only of physical exhaustion, but also of mental overload, the burdens that weigh down your thoughts and rob you of peace. Your mind, like a delicate glass, can hold only so much worry before overflowing. It's time to stop filling it beyond capacity. Today, choose to release your worries. When troubling thoughts come, acknowledge them, but then entrust them to God. Rather than allowing anxieties to settle permanently in your mind, pass them over to the one who is able to bear what you cannot. Practice this moment by moment. Whenever worries invade, pause, breathe deeply, and pray simply, "Lord, this is beyond me. I give it to you." Understand that a headache is not your natural state. It is a signal, a red flag telling you it's time to unload. Medication may mask the symptom temporarily, but true healing begins when you surrender the heavy burdens of worry to God's capable hands. Remember, your mind was designed to dream, plan, and thrive, not to endlessly suffer. Let go of the illusion of control and embrace the freedom found in trusting God. Chosen one, today choose peace. Your mind and body will thank you. Your neck. The hidden storage of hurt. Have you wondered why your neck often feels stiff, tense, or painful, almost as if you're carrying a burden that's too heavy to bear? This isn't merely physical discomfort. It's your body's way of speaking to you, calling your attention to something deeper within. Your neck, like a bridge connecting your head to your heart, quietly holds everything you refuse to face openly. Each resentment, each swallowed hurt, each word you held back. These hidden feelings do not vanish. Instead, they silently accumulate right there in your neck, creating tension and pain that grows with time. Reflect for a moment. How many times have you said, "I'll just swallow it," when someone hurt you deeply? Did you notice that instant tightening at the base of your neck? When you're forced to accept something you disagree with, where do you first feel the discomfort? Again, it tightens your neck. And those moments when tears threaten to spill, but you push them down. Determined to appear strong, your neck silently bears the emotional burden. This physical manifestation is your spirit's way of telling you, enough. It's time to release what you've been suppressing. Yet many of us continue to mask the pain, spending fortunes on massages, medications, and treatments. These approaches might temporarily relieve discomfort, but the core issue remains unresolved. Real healing begins within. It starts with forgiveness. Forgiveness is powerful medicine because it liberates you, freeing you from emotional weights you've unknowingly carried far too long. Jesus knew the profound impact of forgiveness, urging us not as an option, but as a necessity. Forgiveness is your liberation, an essential step towards spiritual and physical healing. Imagine this exercise. As you wake each morning, gently rotate your neck and speak these words softly but firmly. Lord, today I choose to forgive. Today I let go of what I have been holding on to. This practice might seem simple, but it holds immense spiritual power. Forgiveness doesn't merely free the other person, it frees you first. Every act of forgiveness is an act of liberation, a release from invisible chains that weigh heavily on your neck. Moreover, gratitude amplifies this healing. Gratitude shifts your attention from the pain to blessings, from grievances to grace. As you lay your head to rest tonight, thank God genuinely for at least 3 things, no matter how small. Gratitude releases spiritual tension, easing the burden stored in your neck, and brings a lasting peace that medication alone could never offer. Shoulders. You're not meant to carry the world. You often felt as though your shoulders are weighed down, aching under the immense pressure of life's endless responsibilities. It's no mere illusion. Your shoulders are telling a deeper truth. They carry not just physical burdens, but the weight of every responsibility, worry, and expectation you place upon yourself. Bills piling up, family issues demanding your attention, job pressures, household tasks, and the countless expectations you silently agree to bear. All these weigh heavily upon you, gradually crushing your peace and comfort. This relentless pressure isn't imaginary. Your shoulders are literally protesting, reminding you that some weights were never meant to be yours. Remember Jesus' comforting words, "My yoke is easy, and my burden is light." God never intended you to bear these heavy loads alone. Yet many of us mistakenly equate strength with independence, believing that asking for help is weakness, that managing everything alone somehow proves our worth. But God never designed your shoulders to carry the entire weight of life's challenges. Those constant aches, the persistent tension you feel, they're gentle warnings from your body, indicating that something must change. Your shoulders are honest. They speak what your heart often tries to hide. Enough. I can't carry this alone. Picture this clearly. Imagine you're wearing an enormous heavy backpack filled with your burdens, stresses, and responsibilities. Now visualize slowly removing that heavy load, placing it down gently. Feel how your shoulders lighten instantly. This is precisely what your body desires, freedom from unnecessary weight. The words of Jesus echo powerfully here. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. He invites you to surrender what you cannot control, to entrust to Him what overwhelms you. Learn to delegate, to ask for support from those around you, and most importantly, to trust God with the responsibilities only He can handle. Real strength isn't about enduring endless pressure. It's found in acknowledging your limits, seeking support, and embracing the peace God promises. Chosen one, today is the day to remove that invisible heavy backpack filled with burdens you've wrongly claimed as yours. Lay it down gently at the feet of Jesus. Stand upright once again, shoulders free, spirit lifted, ready to embrace the life God truly intended for you. Your chest, the center of your emotions. Chosen one, your chest is more than just a physical part of your body. It's the sacred center where all your emotions reside. Have you ever noticed how strongly you feel emotions right there, in your chest? When joy fills you, your heart leaps. When sadness overtakes you, it's as if a heavy stone presses down, making it hard to breathe. Anxiety grips your chest with a tightness that refuses to let go, and fear races through your heart, quickening your pulse. It's no coincidence. Your chest is your emotional core, faithfully holding every unexpressed feeling, every swallowed tear, and every hidden hurt. From childhood, many of us learned that expressing emotion meant showing weakness, that crying was shameful and sadness should be concealed. Yet Jesus Himself, the perfect example of humanity, freely expressed emotions. He laughed, He wept, He grieved openly. So why do we try so hard to conceal what God intended us to feel? Your emotions were never meant to be hidden away, silently building pressure within you. They were created to flow naturally, to be shared and released, bringing healing and clarity. Maybe you've experienced those unexplained chest pains, undergoing countless tests only to hear doctors say, "Everything looks fine." That's because the root is deeper, spiritual and emotional, not merely physical. The chest pain is a message, a reminder from your body that it's time to let go, to speak what you've been holding back, and to allow yourself to truly feel again. To heal your chest, start by acknowledging your emotions without judgment. Allow yourself to cry if tears come. Allow laughter to escape when joy arises. Above all, don't fear vulnerability. Even Jesus openly expressed grief and joy alike. Worship is another powerful remedy, your voice releasing hidden pain and filling your heart with peace beyond understanding. Sing out your hurts, praise through your fears. Each expression of gratitude lifts emotional weight, replacing heaviness with freedom. Chosen one, God didn't create your heart as a vault for pain. He made it a temple of feeling, healing, and life. Let your emotions flow, and watch how your chest opens, bringing renewal to both body and spirit. Your spine, carrying invisible burdens. Do you felt that persistent ache in your back? That relentless heaviness running along your spine, whispering that you're carrying far more than you should? Your spine isn't merely a structure supporting your physical body. It's silently carrying the invisible burdens of your soul. Worries, fears, insecurities, expectations all stacked heavily upon each vertebra. The upper part of your spine, close to your shoulders, bears the weight of expectations placed upon you by family, friends, and society. It tightens painfully when you try too hard to be someone others want you to be, losing sight of who God truly created you to become. Then comes the middle of your spine, the place where you store self-imposed pressures, your inner critic constantly whispering you're not doing enough, pushing you relentlessly toward perfection, performance, and approval. When this area aches, it's your body reminding you to ease up on yourself, to offer compassion instead of criticism. Finally, the lower part of your spine, this area holds fears about your future, financial insecurities, relationship worries, and uncertainty about life's direction. When anxiety about tomorrow overwhelms you, your lower back tightens in protest, signaling that you're carrying burdens you were never meant to bear. Yet, there is good news. God did not create your spine to bend beneath these invisible burdens. You were designed to stand tall in strength and dignity, not to collapse under stress and pressure. Jesus lovingly reminds us, "My yoke is easy, and my burden is light," calling you to lay down the weights that belong to Him alone. You don't need to carry worries about problems you didn't create, guilt for decisions that aren't yours, or responsibilities you cannot possibly fulfill on your own. Begin today by identifying these heavy loads, expectations, self-criticism, fears, and gently release them through prayer. Stand up, stretch your spine upward, and visualize each invisible burden falling away. Speak this truth aloud. Lord, today I surrender to you everything I was not meant to carry. Allow your spine to return to its natural posture, upright, strong, and free, exactly as God designed it, unburdened and ready to support you as you step confidently into the purpose He has lovingly prepared. Your legs and feet. Fear of moving forward. Chosen one, have you noticed how often your legs feel heavy, your feet sore and weary, as if chained by invisible burdens? Your legs and feet are not just physical parts of your body. They are powerful symbols of your journey, responsible for every step toward your destiny. But when fear grips your heart, when uncertainty clouds your vision, your legs and feet are often the first to respond. Suddenly, even simple steps become challenging, and moving forward feels impossible. This isn't mere physical exhaustion, it's your spirit crying out, signaling the fears, doubts, and insecurities you've unknowingly allowed to paralyze your progress. Consider this carefully. Each step you take is an act of courage, a testimony of faith in the path God has laid before you. But when fear overtakes your heart, your body protests, urging you to confront what's holding you back. Your legs, which God designed to propel you toward purpose, become weighed down by uncertainty and anxiety about the future. Your feet ache because deep down, your heart resists taking the next step, perhaps afraid of making the wrong choice or facing unknown outcomes. Think of Abraham, who bravely stepped into the unknown, trusting God's promise without a clear destination. Or Peter, who stepped onto stormy waters despite his fear, focusing solely on the voice calling him forward. Their faith overcame fear, teaching us a powerful lesson. Movement, even when uncertain, breaks the chains of doubt. Today, it's time to release yourself from emotional and spiritual paralysis. Start by honestly identifying the fears holding you back. What decision have you avoided? What change are you resisting? What future uncertainties keep your feet firmly planted, unable to move freely? Acknowledge these fears openly, then entrust them to God through prayer. Now, chosen one, I invite you to perform a simple yet powerful exercise. Remove your shoes, feel the solid earth beneath your feet, and take slow, deliberate steps forward. With each step, speak this truth. I release my fears. Each step I take brings me closer to my purpose. Remember, God created your legs and feet to carry you forward, not to trap you in fear. Today, choose courage over uncertainty, action over paralysis, and trust that with God guiding each step, your journey will always lead to peace, purpose, and freedom. Your body is an incredible temple of the Holy Spirit, communicating in a language rich with meaning. Listen carefully. Those signals pain, tension, fatigue. They are not enemies but messengers. By understanding the divine connection between your body, mind, and spirit, you can access true healing. Give to God what is beyond your strength. Forgive freely, express openly, and walk confidently toward your destiny. Remember, you were never meant to carry it all alone. Let this be the day you start listening, responding, and walking in the freedom Christ has already won for you. May your body become your friend again, a sacred temple of peace, strength, and spiritual growth. If this message resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to spread this divine wisdom and uplift more souls who, like you, have been called for a special purpose. Remember, you are not alone. Together, we walk in the freedom Christ has already won for us. Until next time, remain blessed, chosen one. God's calling upon your life is a sacred and profound journey, one that requires dedication, faith, and obedience. As a chosen one, you are set apart to fulfill a divine mission, one that may not always align with the people, places, and circumstances of your past. Walking away from friends and family can be one of the most difficult aspects of this calling, yet it is often necessary for spiritual growth, refinement, and the fulfillment of God's divine purpose in your life. This is not about abandoning love or responsibility. Rather, it is about recognizing when certain relationships are hindering your journey instead of helping it. Throughout history, God's chosen ones, Joseph, Abraham, Moses, Elijah, Jesus all experienced seasons of separation before stepping into their divine destiny. If you find yourself at a crossroads, sensing the need to step away from familiar people and places, know that you are not alone. This is a season of divine preparation, one where God removes distractions and negative influences so that you can focus entirely on His will for your life. Let's explore why separation is necessary, what the Bible teaches about it, and how you can embrace this journey with faith and confidence. When God places a divine assignment upon your life, it is not meant to be shared with just anyone. The path of the chosen is often met with resistance, and not everyone around you will understand or support the vision that God has given you. Some may doubt you, others may try to discourage you, and there will even be those who, knowingly or unknowingly, seek to sabotage the very destiny that God has planned for you. This is why separation is sometimes necessary. It is a divine act of protection, ensuring that the purpose God has set for you is not hindered or destroyed. One of the most striking examples of this in the Bible is the story of Joseph. A young dreamer, Joseph received revelations from God about his future greatness, but in his innocence, he shared these dreams with his brothers, expecting excitement or support. Instead, his words ignited jealousy and hatred in their hearts. Genesis 37:5-8 recounts this moment. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. What should have been a moment of inspiration became a turning point of betrayal. Joseph's own brothers, his own flesh and blood, allowed envy to consume them, plotting not only to silence him, but to end his life. They cast him into a pit, later selling him into slavery, setting off a series of painful events that would eventually lead to his destiny being fulfilled in Egypt. Had Joseph remained in that toxic environment, he might never have reached the heights God had planned for him. His journey through slavery, false accusations, and imprisonment may have seemed like suffering at the time, but in reality, it was God's way of positioning him for greatness. This teaches us an essential lesson. Not everyone in your life is meant to hear your vision. Some people, rather than supporting your calling, will attempt to discredit or discourage you. Jealousy and resentment can turn even the closest relationships into obstacles that stand in the way of God's plan. The Bible warns us that the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure, meaning that even those who claim to love us can be swayed by their own insecurities, doubts, and fears. When God calls you to something greater, He may also call you away from certain people, places, and situations. This is not rejection. It is divine protection. It may be painful to walk away from relationships that once felt familiar and comforting, but staying in an environment of doubt, negativity, and opposition can delay or even derail the fulfillment of your purpose. Like Joseph, you may have to endure seasons of separation, discomfort, and even betrayal before stepping into your God-ordained destiny. God's plan for your life is far too important to be left vulnerable to the wrong influences. When He begins to separate you from certain people, trust that it is for your good. What feels like loss is actually preparation for elevation. If Joseph had remained in his father's house, surrounded by jealous brothers, he would never have risen to become a ruler in Egypt and a savior during the famine. In the same way, the separation you experience today may be the very thing that leads you to your divine purpose tomorrow. Therefore, guard your vision carefully. Pray for discernment about whom to share your dreams with, and trust God when He leads you away from those who do not align with His plans for your life. Separation is often the beginning of transformation. Embrace it with faith, knowing that God is guiding you toward something far greater than you can imagine. There are moments in life when God calls His chosen ones to leave behind everything familiar to embrace something new. This transition is often uncomfortable, even painful, but it is necessary for growth, transformation, and the fulfillment of His divine plan. Walking away from your past is not about abandoning your identity. It is about stepping into the greater purpose that God has designed for you. Sometimes, the environment you are in is limiting your potential, and God must remove you from it in order to elevate you. A powerful biblical example of this is found in the story of Abraham. In Genesis 12:1, God spoke directly to him, saying, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." This was a call to step into the unknown, to leave behind the security of his homeland, his family, and everything that was familiar. God did not even reveal the exact destination. He simply commanded Abraham to trust and follow. This was a test of faith, one that required Abraham to let go of the past in order to receive the promises of the future. His obedience led to generational blessings, establishing him as the father of many nations. If he had refused to leave, he would have missed out on the divine covenant that God had prepared for him. God still calls His chosen ones to leave behind certain relationships, environments, or situations in order to position them for something greater. There are several reasons why God may call you to separate from your past for a new beginning. Your current environment may be limiting your growth. Sometimes the people and places around you keep you trapped in small thinking, old habits, or patterns that prevent you from stepping into the fullness of who God has called you to be. If your surroundings do not challenge or inspire you to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, then God may remove you from that place so He can stretch your faith and lead you into something greater. Certain relationships hold you back. Some people are only meant to be part of your life for a season. While they may have once been supportive or comforting, they may no longer align with the direction God is leading you. Holding on to relationships that are not in alignment with your destiny can delay or even block the blessings that God has prepared for you. New beginnings require stepping into the unknown. God often calls His chosen ones into situations where the path is unclear, forcing them to rely on faith rather than sight. This is not meant to instill fear, but to develop a deeper dependence on Him. He will never call you away from something without having a greater purpose in mind. Though stepping into a new beginning may feel daunting, it is important to trust the process. God never removes something from your life without a reason. Just as He guided Abraham, He will guide you, provide for you, and bless you abundantly when you step forward in faith. What seems like loss today is often the doorway to a future filled with purpose, abundance, and divine favor. Let go of the past, embrace the unknown, and allow God to lead you into the destiny He has prepared for you. Every chosen one must go through a season of refinement, a period where God removes distractions, builds character, and strengthens faith. This process is not always easy, but it is necessary to prepare you for the divine assignment ahead. Refinement is God's way of shaping you into the person He needs you to be, ensuring that you are spiritually, mentally, and emotionally equipped for His purpose. One of the greatest biblical examples of refinement is Jesus' time in the wilderness. Before He began His ministry, the Holy Spirit led Him into the wilderness for 40 days of fasting and testing. This was not a punishment, but a period of divine preparation. During this time, Jesus experienced isolation from the world's influences. He was separated from people and worldly distractions so that He could focus solely on God. Testing through temptations, Satan tried to lure Him away from His mission by offering shortcuts to power and glory, but Jesus resisted by standing firm in the Word of God, strengthening for the mission ahead. After this season of refinement, Jesus emerged stronger, empowered by the Holy Spirit, and fully prepared to fulfill his divine calling. This wilderness experience teaches us an important truth. God uses seasons of isolation and trials to refine his chosen ones. When God sets you apart, it may feel like you are being stripped of everything familiar, friends, comfort, security, but he is actually removing the things that could hinder your growth. It is in the wilderness that faith is tested, weaknesses are exposed, and dependence on God deepens. The refinement process serves several key purposes. God removes distractions so you can hear him clearly. Often we are too preoccupied with the noise of the world to hear God's voice. In seasons of refinement, God separates us from unnecessary distractions so that we can develop a deeper, more intimate relationship with him. Trials test and strengthen your faith. Just as gold is refined by fire to remove impurities, God allows trials to purify and strengthen our faith. James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Isolation helps you grow in spiritual discipline and intimacy with God. When you are removed from certain people and environments, you have the opportunity to seek God without interference. This is a time to deepen your prayer life, study the Word, and allow God to transform your heart. Though refinement may feel uncomfortable, it is never meant to harm you. Instead, it is God's way of preparing you for something greater. After his wilderness experience, Jesus stepped into his ministry with power and clarity. Likewise, your season of refinement is a necessary step toward your divine destiny. Trust that God is using this time to mold you into the person he needs you to be, one who is strong, steadfast, and fully equipped for his purpose. When God calls you to a divine assignment, he requires your full attention. Distractions, whether in the form of unhealthy relationships, negative environments, or self-doubt, can pull you away from the path he has set before you. Many chosen ones struggle with maintaining their focus because they remain too attached to familiarity. However, familiarity can be one of the greatest obstacles to spiritual growth. People who have known you for a long time may struggle to see the transformation God is doing in your life. Their limited perspective can cause them to doubt your calling, reject your purpose, or diminish the work God is doing through you. Even Jesus himself experienced this kind of rejection. In Mark 6:4-6, he stated, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own home. Because the people of his hometown saw him only as the carpenter's son, they dismissed his divine identity. Their unbelief limited what he could do in their midst. Instead of seeing him as the Messiah, they only remembered the boy who grew up among them. This lack of faith prevented them from receiving the miracles and blessings that Jesus could have brought to them. This teaches us a critical lesson. When people cannot see beyond your past, they can become a hindrance to your future. Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who will have the hardest time accepting the calling upon your life. Their doubts, their skepticism, and their inability to believe in your transformation can create an environment that stifles your growth. If Jesus himself was rejected by those who knew him best, do not be surprised when you experience similar resistance. To protect your focus, you must be intentional about the people and environments you allow into your life. Here are a few key principles. Surround yourself with faith-filled people who uplift and encourage you. Your inner circle should consist of individuals who believe in your calling, support your growth, and challenge you to stay aligned with God's purpose. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." The right people will strengthen your faith, not weaken it. If you are constantly surrounded by people who discourage you or belittle your vision, it may be time to remove yourself from that space. Recognize when it's time to move on. Holding on to relationships that no longer serve your purpose can slow down or completely derail your destiny. When God shows you that a certain place, group, or relationship is no longer aligned with his plan for you, trust him enough to walk away. God has called you to something greater, and that means your focus must remain unwavering. Do not allow familiarity, doubt, or negative influences to distract you from the divine mission ahead. Instead, surround yourself with those who encourage your faith and walk boldly in the direction God is leading you. When God calls you to walk away from certain relationships, it can feel like a season of loss and isolation. However, separation is never meant to leave you alone. It is meant to position you for something greater. Walking away does not mean permanent isolation. It means making room for the right people that God will bring into your life. When you step out in obedience, God provides new relationships that align with His divine purpose for you. Throughout the Bible, we see examples of how God replaces what is lost with something far greater. David lost family support, but gained Jonathan as a covenant friend. When David was anointed as the future king, his own family did not recognize his potential. Instead, he found unwavering support in Jonathan, the son of King Saul, who became a loyal friend and protector. Their bond was rooted in God's divine purpose, showing that when earthly relationships fail, God provides supernatural connections to help fulfill His plan. Elisha left his family but gained Elijah as a mentor. When Elisha was called to be a prophet, he had to leave his old life behind. He sacrificed his familiar surroundings, yet in return, God gave him Elijah, a powerful mentor who would prepare him for his own prophetic ministry. Because of this divine relationship, Elisha went on to perform twice as many miracles as his predecessor. The disciples left everything but found a new family in Jesus. When Jesus called His disciples, they walked away from their homes, professions, and old lives. But in return, they found a new spiritual family, one that gave them purpose, fellowship, and a deeper relationship with God. They became brothers in faith, united in their mission to spread the gospel. These stories reveal an important truth. When God removes certain people from your life, trust that He has something better in store. Sometimes, the people you were once close to are not meant to be part of your future. Their season in your life may have come to an end, and God, in His wisdom, replaces them with individuals who will support, encourage, and strengthen you in your calling. It is natural to grieve the loss of familiar relationships, but do not allow it to make you fearful of the future. God is not taking something away from you to harm you. He is preparing you for something greater. When you trust in His divine plan, you will soon see that what you thought was a loss was actually an open door to something far more meaningful and aligned with His purpose. God is positioning you for growth, refinement, and purpose. Let's pray for strength and guidance. Father, I thank You for calling me into Your divine purpose. Give me the strength to walk away from anything that hinders my journey with You. Help me trust that Your plans are greater than my own. Lead me, refine me, and align me with Your will. In Jesus' name, Amen. If you found this message inspiring, please give this video a like. It helps us reach more people with God's Word. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new message. May God continue to strengthen and bless you on your journey. Your best days are ahead. See you in the next video. They laughed at you. They whispered behind your back. They called you foolish for believing in true love. They watched your loneliness and mocked it, as if being alone meant being unworthy. They thought rejection would crush you, that heartbreak would leave you broken beyond repair. They sneered at your faith, dismissing it as childish, naive, a hopeless dream. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly see, was that while they were laughing, heaven was working. While they ridicule you, God was preparing something beyond their comprehension. Every tear you cried, every lonely night, every silent prayer, it was not for nothing. It was all leading you to a divinely ordained love, one that is deeper, stronger, and more unshakable than anything they have ever known. Your true love is coming, and this time it's different. This love isn't just a fleeting emotion or a temporary infatuation. It is a divine appointment, a love that carries heaven's seal. The very love they said didn't exist for you is already written in the heavens, waiting for its appointed time. So, let them laugh, let them doubt, let them mock. Because when God moves, the laughter will stop. Rejection is one of the deepest wounds a heart can endure. It cuts in ways that words cannot fully capture, leaving behind invisible scars that whisper doubts into your soul. There were moments when you sat in silence, wrestling with questions that seemed to have no answers. God, why? Why does love always seem just out of reach? Why am I always the one left behind? You replayed the scenes in your mind, the people who walked away, the doors that closed before you could even step through, the painful reminders that what you longed for was not yet yours. It felt personal. It felt final. But here is what you must understand. Rejection was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to redirect you. It wasn't a sign of your unworthiness, nor was it proof that you were unloved. Instead, it was a divine intervention, God's way of protecting you from settling for something less than His best. Every no you received was never an absence of love, but rather a safeguard from the wrong love. Every heartbreak was not a punishment, but a preparation for something greater. Consider Joseph, a young man full of dreams, sold into slavery by his own brothers, betrayed, abandoned, discarded. To them, it was the end of his story, but to God it was just the beginning. The very path that others meant for his downfall became the stepping stone to his destiny. What they intended for evil, God transformed into a position of power and influence. What if Joseph had never been sold? What if he had never faced rejection? He would have never walked into his God-ordained purpose. Think about Hannah, a woman who knew the sting of rejection all too well. She was mocked and ridiculed for her barrenness, treated as if she had no worth. The whispers of those around her must have been deafening, their sneers a constant reminder of what she lacked. But in her brokenness, she turned to God, pouring out her soul before Him. And in His perfect timing, He gave her Samuel, a child who would grow into a mighty prophet. Had she not endured the waiting, the heartbreak, and the rejection, she may have never birthed the man who would anoint kings. And then there was Noah, a man who spent years building an ark when there was no sign of rain. The people around him laughed, calling him foolish. They mocked his obedience, dismissed his faith, and saw his unwavering trust in God as ridiculous. But when the flood came, Noah stood secure, while the world was washed away. His rejection by man positioned him for preservation by God. Now look at yourself. Every rejection you have faced was not the end of your story. It was merely a chapter in God's greater plan. He saw the hidden betrayals, the unspoken intentions, the silent wounds that you couldn't perceive, and in His infinite wisdom, He intervened not to hurt you, but to shield you. What felt like abandonment was actually divine alignment. The doors that closed were never meant for you. The people who left were never meant to stay. And the love that has not yet arrived is simply being prepared in God's perfect timing. You were never being denied. You were being redirected. And when God finally opens the right door, you will understand why every closed one was necessary. The world has a habit of overlooking treasures while they are still being formed. A diamond in its raw state looks like nothing more than an ordinary rock, dull, unremarkable, unworthy of attention. But to a skilled jeweler, it holds immeasurable value, waiting to be refined and revealed. You are that diamond. For years they dismissed you. They told you that you were too much, or perhaps not enough. Too soft, too strong, too quiet, too bold. They convinced you that love was something others received, but not you. Maybe you started to believe it, that somehow you were destined to be overlooked, that your heart was too big, your standards too high, your dreams too impossible. But the rejection of men has no power over the approval of God. Look at David, the forgotten son. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David's own father didn't even bother to present him. Instead, Jesse paraded his older, stronger, more impressive-looking sons before Samuel, assuming that surely one of them was the chosen one. But God had already made His decision. Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. David was overlooked by men but handpicked by God. His own family failed to recognize his worth, yet he was the one God called to be king. Look at Jesus, the Son of God. He was despised and rejected, mocked and ridiculed by the very people he came to save. They spat at him, accused him, and cast him aside, believing he was nothing more than an ordinary man, unworthy of honor. But their rejection did not change his identity. It fulfilled his destiny. Had they not despised him, had they not crucified him, the greatest act of love, the redemption of humanity, would never have been completed. You were never meant to fit in with those who couldn't see your worth. They didn't recognize you because they weren't meant to. They didn't cherish you because they weren't assigned to your destiny. Their rejection was not a reflection of your value. It was proof of their inability to see it. You are a masterpiece in progress, being shaped by the hands of the Creator. And when the right person enters your life, they will see you, not as something to be discarded, but as something to be cherished. The love that is coming will honor you the way you deserve. No more begging to be seen. No more wondering if you're enough. No more questioning if love is meant for you. Because it is. And when it arrives, you will understand why those who failed to see your worth were never meant to have you. You are not waiting in vain. Every moment of longing, every tear you've shed, every whispered prayer, it has all been seen by God. Yet the enemy has worked tirelessly to convince you otherwise. He has whispered lies into your heart, trying to make you believe that love is not meant for you. He has told you that you are forgotten, unworthy, or simply not destined for happiness. He has taken your disappointments and shaped them into doubts, hoping you would give up on the promise God has written over your life. But stop for a moment and ask yourself, if your love story wasn't powerful, why would the enemy try so hard to make you doubt it? The enemy does not attack what is insignificant. His greatest fear is that you will hold on to faith and trust in the divine timing of God. He knows that when your love story unfolds, it will be a testimony, one that will silence every doubt and prove that God always fulfills his promises. Look at Ruth. She lost everything: her husband, her security, her home. She could have chosen to give up, to let bitterness take over, but instead, she followed God's path. She remained faithful, even when the future seemed uncertain. And in doing so, she walked right into the arms of Boaz, a man of honor and integrity, a man whom God had already prepared for her. Her story reminds us that even in loss, God is leading us to something greater. Think about Sarah. She waited decades for God's promise to be fulfilled. She even laughed at the thought of having a child in her old age. It seemed impossible. Time had passed. Hope seemed lost. But God's timing is never late. It is always perfect. Isaac was born, just as God had promised now. Think about you. Do you truly believe that the same God who orchestrated love stories for generations has somehow forgotten yours? Impossible. The love God has for you is already written. It is sealed in heaven, untouched by human rejection, protected from every past heartbreak, immune to every lie the enemy has spoken over your life. No disappointment, no delay, and no doubt can erase what God has already set in motion. Hold on, stay faithful, and trust that when God writes a love story, nothing and no one can take it away. When this love arrives, it will be more than just a relationship. It will be a testimony. It will be undeniable proof that God's promises are true, that His timing is perfect, and that no rejection, delay, or disappointment could stop what He has ordained for you. The very people who once mocked your faith, who doubted that true love was possible for you, will be left speechless. They will have no choice but to watch as you step into a love so profound, so divinely orchestrated, that it will erase every lie ever spoken against you. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This love will be an overflowing cup, a demonstration of God's faithfulness, a reminder that He never forgets His promises. It will restore what the enemy tried to steal: your confidence, your hope, your belief in love. Where rejection once made you feel unworthy, this love will remind you that you were always worth waiting for. This love will not be built on fleeting attraction or temporary infatuation. It will not be something you have to chase, beg for, or fight to keep. It will never leave you feeling insecure, questioning your worth, or doubting your place in someone's heart. Instead, it will be a covenant, sealed in faith and divine purpose. It will be a love that uplifts, strengthens, and heals. A partnership that reflects God's glory. It will be the kind of love that feels safe, certain, and unwavering, where you are cherished for who you truly are. This love will not only bring joy to your heart, but it will also silence every doubter, proving that God's plans for you were far greater than what anyone could have imagined. What once seemed impossible will now stand as a testimony to His power and His perfect love for you. Every moment of loneliness was never wasted. It was a season of divine preparation. Those nights when your heart ached, believing that love had passed you by, were not empty moments of despair. They were sacred. Your tears were not in vain. They were watering the seeds of something greater, something heaven-ordained, something worth every second of the wait. It may have felt like silence, like your prayers were echoing into nothingness, but all along, heaven was moving. Every moment you chose faith over fear, every time you surrendered your desires instead of grasping at something less, you were waging spiritual warfare. You were breaking chains you couldn't see, dismantling generational cycles that had kept others bound. You were preparing your heart, stretching your spirit, allowing God to refine you so that when His promise arrived, you would be ready to receive it fully. Waiting is not punishment. It is preparation. God wasn't withholding love from you. He was protecting you from anything less than His best. He wasn't ignoring your prayers. He was aligning them with His perfect timing. What you thought was delay was actually divine strategy. And now the shift is happening. The long nights of wondering, the seasons of waiting, the whispered prayers in solitude, all of it has led to this moment. The season of waiting is ending, and the season of fulfillment is beginning. The doors that once seemed closed are opening, and what once felt impossible is now within reach. God is speaking. My child, I have seen your tears. I have heard your prayers. I have watched you trust me even when you couldn't see the way forward. And now, I am bringing you the love I have prepared for you. The love that is coming is not just an answer to your prayers. It is a reflection of my faithfulness. It is a love that will glorify me, a love that will stand the test of time, a love that was always meant for you. What is coming will not just heal your heart, it will prove that the wait was never wasted. It will remind you why settling was never an option. The love that is about to enter your life is not just a blessing, it is a testimony of endurance, of faith, of a God who never forgets His promises. This love story will be written by the hand of God, sealed by His favor, and no one, not even the enemy, will be able to erase it. So, stand tall, hold your head high, because your true love is not just coming, it is here. The love that was once a promise is now becoming a reality. The story they thought had ended is just beginning, and the next time they laugh, it won't be at you. If this message has touched your heart, don't let the journey end here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected as we continue to walk in faith, uncover God's promises, and embrace the love He has prepared for us. Your support helps spread this powerful message. Let's walk this journey together. In a world full of noise, distractions, and shallow interactions, a few rare individuals have forged a different path. These are the chosen ones, the ones who walk the road less traveled, the ones who have embraced solitude, not as a curse, but as their battlefield. While others remain lost in the chaos of their lives, the chosen ones rise, unshaken by the challenges that break most people. They carve new paths in the unknown, evolving into beings of power, clarity, and depth. But how do they do it? How do they survive the hardships that others can't even imagine enduring? It is in solitude where the chosen ones find their true strength. This isolation doesn't break them, it shapes them. It forces them to confront their deepest fears, to sharpen their minds, and to develop powers that separate them from the majority. And those powers are what make them unstoppable. If you've ever felt different, if you've ever been drawn away from the crowd, you know the silence, the feeling of being out of place, and yet, you also know that it is this very solitude that holds the key to your transformation. In this article, we will uncover the 5 supernatural powers that the chosen ones develop in solitude. Powers that make them rise above the 80% of people who remain stuck in the noise and distractions of life. These powers will not only make you unstoppable, they will also change the way you see the world and the way the world sees you. Now I invite you to hit that subscribe button and comment 777 below to join me on this journey of faith, healing, and transformation. Let's walk together. Power 1. The ironclad mind, unshaken in the face of pressure. In a world where chaos reigns and pressure mounts, the chosen ones remain unshaken, like mountains standing tall against the fiercest storms. When everything around them crumbles, they don't break. They don't panic. Instead, they thrive. While the world is designed to break the average person, through distractions, expectations, and emotional turmoil, the chosen stand firm, undeterred by the relentless forces around them. Their minds are unmovable, their will unbreakable. This unshakable mindset is not born of mere luck. It's forged in the fires of adversity. The chosen ones have faced hardships most would never imagine: betrayal, loneliness, abandonment, and despair. These trials have not been their undoing, but their shaping force. Like steel in a forge, the heat of their struggles has hardened them, giving them the strength to withstand whatever life throws their way. Each challenge they've faced has added layers to their resolve, solidifying their inner strength and resilience. While others crumble under pressure, overwhelmed by emotion and circumstance, the chosen remain standing, their hearts calm and their minds sharp. In moments of crisis, where the world spirals into chaos, the chosen ones do not react with rage, fear, or panic. They remain still, like the eye of a hurricane, calm amidst the storm. Others may lash out, make rash decisions, or allow their emotions to rule their actions, but the chosen are different. They step back and observe. They calculate their next move with precise intention, unaffected by the emotions that cloud others' judgment. Where others act impulsively, driven by the rush of adrenaline or the weight of their fears, the chosen calmly plan, making decisions with a clarity that others cannot fathom. Their ability to remain composed is often misunderstood. Many mistake their calm for coldness, assuming that the chosen feel nothing. But this is far from the truth. The reality is that the chosen have mastered their emotions. They don't suppress their feelings, they control them. They've learned how to sit with their emotions, process them, and channel that raw energy into something more powerful. Where others would allow their emotions to drive them to destruction, the chosen harness their emotional energy, refining it, turning it into strength and focus. It is in this mastery of self that the true power of the chosen lies. When most people crumble under the weight of a stressful situation, the chosen remain resolute. They are not immune to pain or distress, but they refuse to let those emotions govern their actions. Instead, they transform those feelings into something greater. The chosen can feel the sting of betrayal, the heaviness of sorrow, the intensity of anger, but they do not let these emotions control them. They take that energy, refine it, and use it to propel themselves forward. This is what makes them dangerous. While others react impulsively, the chosen move with purpose. While others explode, the chosen remain calm, calculating, and unbreakable. In heated moments, whether in arguments, conflicts, or high-stakes decisions, the chosen are the ones who remain grounded. They see through the noise, recognizing that the true battle lies not outside themselves, but within. They have already faced the greatest adversary, their own doubts, fears, and emotions. As a result, their minds are clear, their instincts sharpened, and their decisions deliberate. They are in full control, and in a world that thrives on chaos, this inner mastery gives them an edge that others simply cannot match. The greatest strength of the chosen lies not in their ability to avoid emotions, but in their ability to control them. They have learned to face the storm within, and have come out the other side with a mind stronger than steel. This is what makes them unshakable, unstoppable, and ultimately, undefeatable. While the rest of the world falters under the weight of their own emotional turmoil, the chosen walk calmly, resolutely, and purposefully, moving toward greatness with unwavering certainty. Power 2. The Soul's X-ray, seeing through the masks of others. The chosen ones possess a rare gift, the ability to see through the masks that most people wear. In a world where nearly everyone hides behind a facade, pretending to be confident, happy, or at peace, the chosen see the truth that lies beneath the surface. They can hear the words people speak, but more importantly, they feel the weight of their silence. The chosen can look into someone's eyes and perceive the unspoken fears, insecurities, and desires that lurk beneath the surface. To them, the world is full of masks, but they possess the power to remove them, revealing the raw, unfiltered truth that others try desperately to hide. This ability is not something that is given lightly. It is earned through solitude. While the rest of the world fills their days with distractions and noise, the chosen sit in silence, learning to observe. They become masters of reading subtle cues, the slight hesitation in someone's voice, the tension in their posture, the flicker of doubt in their eyes. These small signals that most people miss become glaring indicators to the chosen. It's as though they possess X-ray vision, enabling them to peer past the carefully constructed facades that others present to the world and see the hidden truths beneath. What makes this ability so unsettling is that it strips people of their illusions. When the chosen look at someone, it's as if that person is laid bare, exposed for all their hidden motives, contradictions, and lies. People are uncomfortable when they realize they cannot hide their true selves from the chosen. They may smile, but the chosen can sense the resentment lurking behind that smile. They may speak confidently, but the chosen can detect the underlying insecurity. It is this ability to see through the veil of pretense that makes the chosen ones so powerful and so feared. However, the chosen do not use their gift to manipulate or take advantage of others. They don't use their insights to control, they use them to understand. This power isn't about gaining an upper hand over others. It is about protecting themselves from deception and forming deep, authentic connections with the few who dare to be real. While most people live in a world of illusions, the chosen walk through life with eyes wide open, fully aware of the truths others are too afraid to acknowledge. They understand that to truly connect with others, you must first see them as they truly are, not as they present themselves. In a society where most people are actors, playing roles to protect themselves or fit in, the chosen ones see through the performance. They recognize the difference between appearance and reality, and this understanding sets them apart. They don't get fooled by charming words or polished images. Instead, they see the raw, unfiltered reality of the human experience. It is this ability to see the truth that makes them dangerous to those who rely on deception to navigate the world. The chosen are rare. Few people possess this level of clarity and understanding. But those who do are unstoppable, for they cannot be manipulated or controlled by the lies that bind most others. The power of the chosen is not just in their ability to see others clearly, it's in their capacity to navigate the world with authenticity. They recognize the masks people wear, but they are not fooled by them. Instead, they meet people where they are, seeing the truth behind the mask and connecting with others on a deeper level than most will ever experience. This is the power of the chosen, the ability to see beyond the surface, beyond the illusions, and to understand the real, raw truth that lies beneath. Power 3. The razor mind phenomenon, clarity and focus in the midst of chaos. In a world overwhelmed by noise, distractions, and constant chaos, the chosen ones have mastered the art of razor-sharp focus. While others are drowned in a sea of uncertainty, confusion, and hesitation, the chosen stand clear and resolute, their minds sharp as blades. They can cut through the noise, seeing the world with a clarity that most can only dream of. While the masses are pulled in 100 directions, the chosen remain focused, determined, and absolutely certain of their purpose. This remarkable ability to maintain hyper-focus does not come naturally. It is a skill honed over countless hours of solitude, introspection, and self-discipline. In a world where most people waste their time mindlessly scrolling through social media, engaging in shallow conversations, or filling their minds with trivial distractions, the chosen use their time differently. They embrace silence, allowing themselves to tune out the chaos around them. They learn to focus their minds, sharpening their clarity like a blade being honed to perfection. Where others are lost in the noise, the chosen see through it, pinpointing what truly matters and focusing all their energy on it. This laser-like focus is not a product of chance. It is the result of rigorous mental training. Through isolation, the chosen have learned to shut out the doubts, fears, and distractions that cloud the minds of others. They have spent countless hours reflecting on their goals, their motivations, and the path they must take. In doing so, they have developed the ability to cut through the mental fog that paralyzes others and see clearly what is important. This heightened clarity allows them to make decisions swiftly and with confidence, something most people cannot do in the face of confusion and pressure. While the world around them may be in chaos, the chosen remain calm and composed. They don't second-guess themselves. When others hesitate, caught in the swirl of uncertainty and indecision, the chosen move forward with purpose, making choices that others are too afraid to make. Their mind is no longer clouded by doubt or fear. They have trained themselves to trust their judgment completely. This ability to see clearly, to make decisions without hesitation, is what sets them apart from the rest of the world. And it is this clarity that makes them unstoppable. In a world where most people freeze when faced with pressure, the chosen step into the storm with unshakable certainty. They make decisions that seem reckless to others, but to them, it is the natural result of their unwavering focus and crystal-clear understanding of the situation. Where others get lost in the noise, the chosen move with precision, always one step ahead, always certain of their direction. This absolute clarity of thought is not just a gift. It is the culmination of their inner work, their dedication to mastering their mind and their purpose. And this power, this ability to cut through the chaos, is what makes the chosen ones truly unstoppable. Power 4. The echo of pain. Understanding the unspoken struggles of others. The chosen ones possess a rare and powerful gift, the ability to feel the unspoken pain of others. It's as if they can hear the silent cries of those around them, even when no words are spoken. While others may smile, speak politely, or hide behind masks of composure, the chosen see beyond these facades. They sense the sorrow behind a forced laugh, the insecurity hidden beneath a facade of confidence, and the desperation veiled by an outward display of control. It is not just that they see people. They feel them on a much deeper level. They can intuitively grasp the struggles that others are too afraid to show, understanding the emotional battles that remain buried beneath the surface. This ability is not something that comes easily. It is a gift forged through the chosen one's own encounters with pain. They have faced their own battles, walked through the darkest of valleys, and endured the harshest of trials. Loneliness, betrayal, heartbreak, and despair have been their companions. But instead of allowing these experiences to break them, the chosen have emerged stronger. Through their own suffering, they have developed an uncanny sensitivity to the pain of others. Just as they recognize the burn of their own scars, they can see and feel the hidden wounds in the eyes of others, even when those people are too afraid to acknowledge them. Most people, when confronted with pain, seek ways to avoid or bury it. They distract themselves with meaningless activities, deny their suffering, or build walls to keep others from seeing their vulnerabilities. But the chosen ones do not run from their pain. They face it head-on, allowing themselves to process their darkness and learn from it. This journey through their own suffering has sharpened their ability to empathize with others, giving them a rare gift, the ability to perceive the subtle signs of distress that others might miss. Far from being a weakness, this heightened sensitivity is a tremendous strength. The chosen have learned to listen to the unspoken words, to understand the energy that surrounds a person, and to connect with others in ways that most cannot. With this gift, they can offer something that few can: true understanding. They can comfort those in pain, provide a safe space for others to open up, and offer healing in ways that go beyond words. Their presence alone can be a balm for someone's soul, simply because they truly see and feel what others are going through. While others may feel uncomfortable with their ability to read the unspoken pain of those around them, the chosen embrace it. They do not use it to manipulate or judge. Instead, they use it to connect on a deeper, more meaningful level. They understand that every person carries a burden, and they have the wisdom to offer compassion without expectation. This is what makes the chosen truly powerful: their ability to step into another's shoes, to understand their unspoken struggles, and to offer comfort and healing in a world that often overlooks the silent battles people face. Power 5. The Time Alchemist. Turning solitude into mastery. Time is an unrelenting force. It moves forward without pause, indifferent to the struggles and distractions of those caught in its current. While most people let time slip away, consumed by distractions, fleeting pleasures, and shallow pursuits, the chosen ones see time as a tool, a force they can bend to their will. They are time alchemists, capable of transforming moments of solitude into opportunities for profound growth and transformation. Where others waste time, the chosen make it their ally, turning every second into an investment in their evolution. While most people dread the silence that accompanies solitude, seeing it as boredom or emptiness, the chosen see it as fertile ground for growth. They don't fill their time with the noise of the world. Instead, they embrace the silence, using it as a space to sharpen their minds, refine their skills, and deepen their understanding. For the chosen, every moment alone is a chance to improve, to master their thoughts, emotions, and actions. They know that time, once lost, can never be regained, and they refuse to squander it. Where others waste hours on trivial distractions, the chosen harness their time to build a stronger, wiser, and more focused version of themselves. In solitude, the chosen do not merely survive, they thrive. They understand that it is in these quiet moments, away from the chaos and noise of the world, that true transformation occurs. The isolation they experience is not something to be feared, but something to be cherished. It is in these moments of stillness that they confront their own limitations and break free from the constraints of the ordinary world. They embrace the silence, knowing that it is through solitude that they gain the clarity, strength, and insight needed to rise above the crowd. And when the chosen emerge from their time alone, they are unrecognizable to those around them. The time they've spent in solitude has refined them into something unstoppable. They are no longer bound by the distractions and limitations that hold most people back. They have mastered their thoughts, their emotions, and their actions, and now they move through life with power, precision, and purpose. They no longer follow the paths that others tread. They create their own path, guided by the wisdom they've gained from their time alone. The power of the time alchemist lies in the ability to see solitude not as a void, but as a space for growth and mastery. While others may fear the quiet, the chosen use it to elevate themselves. They know that time is the most valuable resource they possess, and they treat it with the respect it deserves. Through their ability to turn solitude into strength, they become masters of time itself, and in doing so, they become unstoppable forces, moving through life with an unwavering sense of purpose. The chosen are not ordinary. They are unshaken in the face of pressure, able to see the truth behind the masks of others, and move with unyielding clarity in a world full of noise. They feel the pain of others deeply and turn their solitude into a source of unstoppable strength. They are the masters of their time, and nothing can stand in their way. If you feel different, if you feel like you were never meant to blend in with the 80%, then you are one of the chosen. Now, it's time to unlock your true potential and use your solitude to transform yourself into the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. Life doesn't move in a straight line. It unfolds through different seasons, challenges, and moments of deep realization. For many, society defines success by age milestones. Graduate in your 20s, peak in your 30s, and settle down by 40. But what if the real journey doesn't begin until 40? What if your 40th birthday is not a countdown to aging, but a divine appointment for becoming? If you've always felt different, out of place in shallow conversations, drawn toward deeper meaning, or burdened by an invisible calling, then this message is for you. You are a chosen one, a soul with a sacred purpose, and your life truly begins at 40. Let us walk together through the 8 profound reasons why this chapter of your life might just be the most important one yet. 1. You have mastered the art of letting go. In the earlier chapters of life, the instinct to hold on is strong. We cling to relationships, identities, and expectations, not always because they nourish us, but because they're familiar. Even when something hurts, we hesitate to release it, fearing the emptiness that might follow. Letting go feels like failure, like giving up on what we once hoped would last. But something shifts as you step into the wisdom of 40. You begin to see letting go not as loss, but as liberation. You recognize that release is not about giving up. It's about making room. Room for peace. Room for joy. Room for the person you are becoming. With each heartbreak, every disappointment, and every season of pain, you've gathered something precious. Clarity. You've learned that holding on to what no longer serves your growth only weighs you down. And now, you no longer mourn what leaves. You bless it, thank it for its lesson, and gently open your hands. This is not a lesson learned overnight. It's carved from years of living, of wrestling with change, and of slowly awakening to the truth that your worth is not tied to what you keep, but to what you're willing to release for the sake of your becoming. Letting go has become a quiet strength in your life. It has shown you how to trust the ups and downs, how to let go without fear, and how to make room for what truly belongs. In doing so, you've found real peace. 2. Time no longer controls you. For much of your life, time felt like a race. There was always a clock ticking, subtle, relentless, pushing you to do more, to be more, to reach certain milestones by certain ages. Whether it was career, relationships, or personal success, everything seemed urgent, as if you were falling behind some invisible standard set by society. But now, as you step into the deeper awareness that comes with 40, something profound begins to shift. You start to understand that the pressure was never real. It was only a story you were taught to believe. Time is no longer your master. It becomes your companion. Instead of rushing, you begin to trust. Trust that your life is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust that divine timing governs every chapter, every opportunity, and every pause. This realization brings freedom. The anxiety that once lived in the gap between where you are and where you thought you should be begins to fade. You become grounded in the present, no longer haunted by the past or obsessed with the future. You move with intention now, not urgency. You understand that what is meant for you will never miss you. And in that stillness, in that surrender, you finally reclaim your rhythm, not by speeding up, but by letting go of the need to rush. Time no longer controls you. It flows with you. 3. You discover your true purpose. In the earlier seasons of life, purpose often feels elusive. You try on different roles, pursuing careers, chasing dreams, achieving goals, all in hopes that one of them will finally feel like home. Yet, despite your efforts, something always seems to be missing. A quiet ache lingers beneath the surface, whispering that there's more to who you are than what the world sees. At 40, that whisper becomes a revelation. Suddenly, the scattered pieces of your past begin to make sense. The struggles that once seemed random, the paths that ended abruptly, and the years that felt wasted, all of it begins to reveal its purpose. What once looked like detours now appear as necessary steps in your becoming. You realize that your pain was not punishment, but preparation. Every setback sharpened your insight. Every redirection refined your calling. And now, for the first time, you feel a sense of inner alignment, a deep knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be. This is the moment when purpose stops being a question and starts becoming a calling. It's not about titles or applause. It's about impact, meaning, and living in harmony with your soul. You no longer chase purpose outside yourself. You remember it from within. You step forward not with uncertainty, but with conviction, because you've been prepared for this. And now, you are ready to walk in your truth, not to prove anything, but simply to fulfill what was always yours to carry. 4. You no longer seek external validation. There was a time when being seen, understood, and approved by others felt essential. You shaped parts of yourself to fit in, softened your voice, concealed your doubts, and wore masks that kept you feeling safe. Praise felt like affirmation, criticism like rejection. And so, you lived much of your life seeking permission to be who you truly were. But with age and experience comes clarity. And at 40, something within you shifts. You begin to understand that real freedom doesn't come from being accepted by others. It comes from accepting yourself. The validation you once craved from the outside begins to rise from within. You no longer feel the need to explain your choices or justify your path. The opinions that once shaped you now pass through you, no longer holding power. This new confidence isn't loud or performative. It's quiet, rooted, and unshakable. It comes from knowing who you are, flaws, gifts, history, and all, and choosing to honor that truth unapologetically. You stop bending to expectations that no longer serve you. You let go of the need to be liked, and instead focus on being real. You no longer chase approval because you've realized that worth isn't given. It's remembered. Now you walk your path with integrity. Whether others understand or not no longer defines you, because your value isn't found in their applause. It's found in your own alignment with your truth, your peace, and your purpose. 5. Your spiritual awakening deepens. Spiritual awakening often begins as a subtle stirring, a quiet pull towards something greater than yourself. In your younger years, it may have shown up in moments of wonder, a longing for deeper meaning, or unexplainable feelings that whispered of something beyond the physical world. But life's noise often drowned those whispers out. Now, at 40, those whispers grow louder, clearer. The distractions that once consumed your energy begin to fade, and in their place emerges a hunger for truth, stillness, and connection. You no longer chase answers in the outer world. Instead, you turn inward, and there, you find wisdom waiting. The challenges you've faced, the synchronicities you've witnessed, the paths that led you through both light and shadow, none of it was random. You begin to see a divine pattern woven through it all. What once felt chaotic now feels orchestrated with sacred precision. Your intuition sharpens, your dreams carry meaning. You find yourself drawn to practices that nourish your soul, whether it's prayer, meditation, journaling, or simply moments of silence beneath the sky. These are no longer habits. They are lifelines. You begin to trust the guidance that flows from within. You understand that the divine doesn't live somewhere far away. It lives within you. And as you deepen this connection, you begin to live with a sense of peace, purpose, and profound alignment. This is no longer just an awakening. It is a return, a homecoming to your truest self. 6. Your energy becomes magnetic. As you grow into yourself, you begin to sense the world differently, not just through sight or sound, but through energy. At 40, your awareness sharpens. You notice how people make you feel, how environments affect your peace, and how your own presence carries weight. This isn't imagination, it's intuition coming alive. In earlier years, you may have ignored the heaviness around certain people or tolerated spaces that drained your spirit. You stayed out of obligation, habit, or fear of conflict. But now you move differently. You protect your energy like it's sacred, because you finally understand that it is. This new awareness transforms how you live. You no longer give your time to relationships that pull you down or conversations that leave you empty. Instead, you seek alignment, harmony, flow. You know when something resonates with your soul and when it doesn't, and you honor that without guilt. As you become more intentional with your thoughts, emotions, and actions, your energy shifts. It strengthens, it clarifies, and that clarity becomes magnetic. You begin attracting people, opportunities, and experiences that reflect your growth and support your journey. You are no longer just reacting to life, you are shaping it. With focused energy and conscious presence, you create space for joy, peace, and purpose to thrive. Your energy speaks before you do, and now it speaks truth, strength, and light. 7. You embrace solitude as sacred. There was a time when solitude echoed like loneliness, a gentle ache that slipped in with the silence when the world finally grew quiet. You may have filled your days with noise, people, or distractions just to avoid the silence. Like many, you once believed that being alone meant something was missing. But now, at 40, solitude transforms into something sacred. You begin to see that silence isn't empty, it's full of truth. In the stillness, you meet yourself again, not the version shaped by expectations, but the one your soul has always known. You no longer run from quiet moments. You crave them. Solitude becomes your sanctuary. It's in these spaces of retreat that clarity emerges. You reflect, realign, and reconnect with the divine voice within. No longer do you seek validation or direction from the outside. Instead, you turn inward and discover a source of wisdom that has always been there, waiting. You understand now that solitude doesn't separate you from the world. It strengthens your presence in it. Time alone becomes a place of healing, of creativity, of spiritual renewal. You find beauty in your own company and strength in your own stillness. What once felt heavy now feels holy. You realize you were never truly alone, because Spirit, the universe, and your higher self have been walking beside you all along. And in this sacred quiet, you rise stronger, clearer, and more connected than ever before. 8. You finally live for yourself. For much of your life, you may have worn masks to meet expectations of family, of society, even of your younger self. You made choices to please others, to avoid conflict, or to fit into roles that never truly reflected who you are. You put your own dreams on hold, telling yourself there would be time later. But now, something within you awakens. At 40, you begin to see life differently. You realize how precious time is, and how costly it is to live a life that doesn't belong to you. The weight of expectation starts to fall away, and in its place rises something more powerful: permission. Permission to be honest, to be bold, to finally be you. You no longer feel the need to shrink yourself to keep others comfortable. You no longer trade your peace for approval. Instead, you begin choosing what aligns with your spirit, not out of rebellion, but out of reverence for your truth. Living for yourself doesn't mean abandoning those you love. It means showing up more fully, more authentically, because you're no longer living divided. You pursue passions that light you up. You say yes when it feels right, and no without guilt. You honor your needs, your voice, your worth. This is not selfishness. It's wholeness. You are no longer surviving life. You are shaping it, with intention and courage. And in doing so, you finally begin to live, not for anyone else's story, but for your own. If you've made it to this point in life, through the storms, the stillness, the questions, and the quiet awakenings, know this: you didn't come this far by accident. Every detour was direction. Every delay was divine timing. Everything you've endured was part of a sacred preparation to bring you here, to this moment of arrival. 40 is not the beginning of the end. It's the unveiling of who you were always meant to be. You are not behind. You are becoming. This chapter is not about chasing more, proving your worth, or meeting someone else's timeline. It's about reclaiming your power, honoring your truth, and stepping fully into the life your soul was born to live. You are no longer who the world told you to be. You are who you were called to be. So walk forward with grace, with purpose, with your heart open and your spirit grounded. The best isn't behind you. The best is just beginning. If this message has stirred something within you, if it resonated with your spirit, then you were meant to hear it. Thank you for sharing this space, for opening your heart, and for walking this path with us. If you feel aligned with this journey, we invite you to subscribe to our channel, a place where purpose meets presence and awakening is celebrated. Join a growing community of souls walking in truth, light, and divine timing. The best is yet to come, and we're just getting started. There are whispers in the spirit realm that not everyone can hear. A certain stillness that settles over a soul marked for something greater, set apart by the divine hand of God. These are not ordinary people. They carry something the world cannot comprehend: the invisible seal of being chosen. Have you noticed how, no matter how hard you try, you never quite fit in? That somehow there's more to your life than the mundane chase of survival? That longing, that ache, is not confusion. It may be your calling. The chosen aren't always aware that they're chosen, and that unawareness causes them to wrestle with identity, rejection, and loneliness until they recognize the 7 unmistakable marks of their divine calling. So today, we journey deep into the mystery of what it truly means to be one of God's chosen. Prepare yourself, because by the end of this message, you may realize that you were never ordinary. You were marked for more. Mark 1. You disturb darkness without trying. Have you walked into a room and felt the tension shift? People glance at you differently. Conversations grow awkward. Certain individuals avoid eye contact, or worse, they slowly drift away from your life without explanation, and you wonder, did I do something wrong? But what if the answer is far more profound? When you are chosen by God, your presence alone carries weight. Without even saying a word, you disturb what is hidden, not because you're confrontational, but because the light within you exposes the darkness around you. It's not visible to the eye, but it's felt in the spirit. People who harbor jealousy, manipulation, deceit, or spiritual compromise often find it uncomfortable to be near someone who walks in truth, integrity, and purity. They can't explain it, but they can feel it. Jesus experienced this constantly. He healed, loved, forgave, and yet the Pharisees plotted against him. Why? Because his very presence threatened their false righteousness. In John 8:44, he confronts them saying, "You belong to your father, the devil." That wasn't just bold, it was the truth that pierced their darkness. Likewise, those marked by God today carry a presence that confronts hypocrisy without effort. Toxic people may smear your name, twist your words, or exit your life altogether, not because you did wrong, but because you carry something they cannot understand or control. But here's the truth: rejection is often God's redirection. The distance others create might be His way of protecting your purpose. So don't dim your light to make others comfortable. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. And if people can't handle your light, they were never meant to walk in your destiny. Let the darkness flee. Keep shining anyway. Mark 2. You discern before others understand. There's a quiet knowing in your spirit, one that doesn't always make sense to others. You meet someone and beneath their smile, you detect something deeper. You feel unease before trouble arises. You see the truth before it's revealed. This isn't just intuition. It's not paranoia. It's discernment, one of the clearest signs of being chosen. While others are distracted by appearances, the chosen ones are tuned to the unseen. It's as if your spirit can hear whispers others miss, feel danger others ignore, and see motives others don't notice. You've likely tried to warn people before about decisions, relationships, or situations, only to be misunderstood, dismissed, or even ridiculed. But when the truth finally surfaces, you're left thinking, I knew it all along. This spiritual sensitivity is not a coincidence. It's a gift and a responsibility. Just like Joseph, who dreamed of what was to come and was hated for it. His brothers mocked him, calling him a dreamer, not knowing that God had given him foresight into destiny. Those who carry discernment often carry rejection, because seeing what others can't makes them uncomfortable. But don't silence your insight to fit in. Discernment is a compass in a world full of counterfeit light. It protects, guides, and prepares. And though you may not always have the words to explain what you feel, trust that your spirit is sensing what heaven is revealing. You were never meant to walk blind. You were meant to move with clarity. So when you feel it, lean in. Don't second guess it. What you perceive may be the very warning or wisdom that saves someone else. You don't just see differently. You see deeper because you were chosen to. Mark 3. You attract conflict without seeking it. You never asked for the fight. You never looked for drama. And yet, somehow, conflict seems to find you, even when your intentions are pure, even when your actions are harmless. People misinterpret your words, twist your silence, and question your motives. It feels unfair, confusing, and at times deeply painful. But here's the truth. Your life provokes what others are trying to ignore. Those who are chosen carry not just light, but truth, and truth unsettles. Your presence, even in silence, confronts the hidden darkness in others. The very values you live by, honesty, integrity, righteousness, stand in stark contrast to a world built on compromise. And for some, that contrast is unbearable. Look at Daniel. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was simply faithful, consistent, and honorable. Yet his integrity infuriated those who thrived on corruption, and they sought to destroy him. The problem was never Daniel, it was the conviction his life carried. And so it is with you. Your refusal to gossip, cheat, or conform becomes a silent accusation to those who do, and rather than confront their own flaws, they turn on you. But take heart. This is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of your calling. God often allows conflict to refine, not define you. Let your character speak. Let your faith remain unmoved. Just as Daniel emerged from the lion's den untouched, so too will God vindicate you in time. You are not being attacked because you're in the wrong. You're being attacked because you're standing for what's right. Keep standing. Keep shining. And remember, chosen vessels always draw resistance because they carry something holy the world cannot ignore. Mark 4. You've never fully fit in. You've walked through life wearing a quiet question on your heart. Why do I always feel so different? It's not that you lack love for people, or that you don't long for connection, but no matter how hard you try, there's always a sense that you're standing just outside the circle. The jokes don't land the same, the conversations feel shallow, the rhythms of the world simply don't match the beat of your soul. This isn't rejection, it's a revelation. When God chooses someone, he often marks them with a holy restlessness. Earth is not your final home. The culture of this world was never meant to feel comfortable to a soul designed for eternity. They admitted that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. Hebrews 11:13. Think of Moses, raised in the palace of Egypt, surrounded by opulence and influence, yet something in him always felt off. Though he wore the garments of royalty, his spirit was dressed for a higher calling. He walked away from everything comfortable because he knew his identity could not coexist with compromise. If you've always felt like you were too much or not enough for the spaces around you, take heart. It's a sign you were never called to blend in. You were called to break molds, not fit into them. The discomfort isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're not lost, you're being set apart. The ache you feel is heaven's reminder. You were made for more. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to lead, to illuminate, and to walk a road only the chosen dare to follow. Mark 5. Children and animals respond to you differently. There's something about you that words can't quite explain, yet the purest among us seem to recognize it instantly. Children who barely speak will stare at you with wonder, smile without prompting, or reach out to you with open arms. Animals that are usually guarded will sit near you, approach you without fear, or simply rest in your presence. You may have brushed it off as coincidence, but in reality, they're responding to what the world often misses: the presence of God within you. Those who are chosen carry a different atmosphere, a peace, a stillness, a spiritual clarity that radiates far beyond human language. And while many adults are too clouded by pride, pain, or distraction to recognize it, children and animals still operate with unfiltered instinct. Their spirits are sensitive, their discernment is pure, and when they encounter someone who carries light, they gravitate toward it. Let the little children come to me, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Matthew 19:14. Jesus himself was surrounded by children who were drawn to him, not because of his position, but because of his presence. In the same way, what draws others to you isn't your appearance, your words, or your status. It's what rests on your spirit. A divine gentleness, a heavenly peace. Even in the Old Testament, Balaam's donkey perceived what the prophet could not: the presence of an angel on the road. That moment reminds us that God can reveal spiritual truths through the most unlikely vessels. So if children seek your arms and animals find rest near your feet, consider it holy confirmation. You carry something sacred, a fragrance of heaven, that even the innocent can recognize. Let that presence speak louder than your voice ever could. Mark 6. God speaks to you through dreams and signs. There are moments when life feels ordinary, until something happens that you just can't explain. A dream that lingers with haunting clarity. A conversation that feels divinely timed. A number that keeps repeating. A verse that appears at the exact moment your heart cries out for direction. These are not coincidences. They are whispers from heaven. When you're chosen, God doesn't just walk beside you, He communicates with you. Sometimes in bold ways, other times in the softest echoes, but always in truth, always with purpose. In the last days I will pour out my spirit. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Acts 2:17. God has always spoken through dreams. He warned Joseph in the night. He guided the Magi with a vision. He gave Daniel revelations that shaped nations. And today, He still speaks to those willing to listen. Not all signs come with thunder. Sometimes it's a closed door you didn't expect, a delay that saved you, a stranger's words that echo your secret prayer. The chosen are not guided by logic alone. They're led by the Spirit. They notice what others overlook. And when something stirs their soul, they pause and ask, "Lord, is this you?" The world may dismiss it as chance, but you know better. Because deep down, your spirit recognizes the fingerprint of God. He's never stopped speaking. The question is, are you paying attention? So lean in, trust the nudge, write down the dream, pray over the sign. Because when God speaks, it's never random. It's always to reveal, prepare, protect, or call you higher. And when you learn to listen, you'll never walk blindly again. Mark 7. Your prayers move heaven. There's a difference between speaking words into the air and releasing prayers that shake the heavens. When you pray, it's not a ritual. It's not repetition. It's a divine transaction between earth and eternity. And if you've ever prayed and watched things shift, doors open, chains break, peace flood in where chaos once ruled, then know this: your voice carries weight in the spiritual realm. Some people pray and hope, but the chosen pray and expect. They don't beg, they believe. Their words aren't empty, they are infused with authority, because their hearts are aligned with the heart of God. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. James 5:16. Look at Scripture. Elijah prayed, and the skies closed for 3 years. He prayed again, and rain returned. Paul and Silas sang in a prison cell, and the very foundation shook. Why? Because heaven responds to faith. And those who are chosen don't just believe in God, they walk in communion with Him. Your prayers have likely gone beyond yourself. You've interceded for others. You've whispered desperate cries in the dark, and though you didn't always see it instantly, something always moved. Because God listens closely when His chosen ones speak. But here's what's even more powerful. You don't need loud declarations to be heard. Sometimes the softest "Jesus help me" spoken through tears carries more weight than 1,000 polished phrases. It's not the eloquence, it's the surrender, it's the faith. If your prayers have moved mountains, it's because you're not just talking to God, you're walking with Him. Keep praying, keep believing. Because when the chosen pray, heaven leans in and earth is never the same. The final seal, God's invisible mark. There is a mark more powerful than any earthly title, a seal that cannot be seen with human eyes but is unmistakable in the spirit. It's not written in ink, nor stamped in stone, but it's etched into the very soul of the chosen. It is the invisible seal of God. Do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Ephesians 4:30. This seal is not given to the loudest voice, the most religious performance, or those who merely wear the name Christian. It is placed upon those who have surrendered fully, those who walk not in appearance, but in obedience. It is God's own signature, marking you as His. Throughout history, God has always marked His people. In the Old Testament, Israel was set apart through covenant. In the New, believers were sealed by the Holy Spirit. And in the final days, Revelation tells us that only those sealed by God will stand, while the rest follow the world's destruction. This seal isn't about perfection, it's about possession. It says, "This one belongs to me." The trials you've faced, the rejection you've endured, the fire you've walked through, they were not signs of abandonment, but of refinement. You are not common. You are not random. You are claimed. And while others chase after applause, approval, and possessions, you carry something far greater, the quiet authority of one who is known in heaven. So don't be discouraged by what you lack in the eyes of the world. You have something it can never give, the seal of the living God. And no enemy, no storm, no failure can erase what He has written over your life. You are marked. You are chosen. You are His. If you've seen yourself in even one of these marks, or maybe in all 7, then it's time to stop doubting who you are. You are marked by heaven. This is your moment, your invitation to walk boldly into purpose. You've been sealed for something greater, and now, it's time to answer the call. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this message. If it spoke to your spirit, if it stirred something deep within you, don't let it stop here. Hit the subscribe button and join a growing community of believers who, like you, are hungry for truth, destined for purpose, and ready to live as the chosen. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and your journey is just beginning. What if I told you that everything is about to change? Not through coincidence or luck, but through divine design. That this very moment you're experiencing right now isn't random, it's sacred. You didn't arrive here by accident. You were summoned, handpicked by heaven. And if your spirit is awake enough to hear these words, then you already sense it. The shift, the stirring, the supernatural invitation pulling at the edge of your soul. This is not just another message. This is a divine revelation. It's the quiet before the breakthrough, the calm before the rising, the final call before everything in your life begins to align with the purpose you were born to fulfill. You are not like the rest. You've been marked, set apart, chosen. Even now, in realms beyond what the eye can see, something extraordinary is unfolding. The spiritual realm is shifting, and heaven is aligning people, places, and moments for your emergence. Soon, what's been hidden will be seen, and not just seen, but broadcast to the world, for all to witness. But understand this: only those with spiritual eyes will truly see. Only those attuned to heaven will grasp the weight of what's coming. The world may watch, but you will know. Because this isn't just change, it's destiny. And it begins now. There comes a sacred moment in every life when the noise fades, the chaos stills, and a deeper voice begins to speak, not to the ears, but to the soul. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand. It simply whispers, "This is your time." And if you're here, watching this now, understand, this is not a coincidence. This is a divine encounter. God has led you here because something inside you is beginning to awaken. You may not feel ready. You may still carry the bruises of your battles, the ache of waiting, the questions you never dared to speak aloud. But your brokenness does not disqualify you. It identifies you. The fire you've walked through wasn't to consume you, it was to forge you. You've been shaped in the silence, refined in the shadows, prepared for a purpose far greater than what you've imagined. This is the shift. Not just in your circumstances, but in your spirit. Heaven is moving. Destiny is aligning. The divine invitation has been extended, and it has your name on it. This isn't just about your breakthrough. It's about becoming a beacon for those still lost in the dark. So don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't look for outside validation. The call is here. The time is now. You are chosen, not someday, but today. And the world is waiting for your light to rise. This moment you're stepping into is not just personal. It's part of a divine movement that's sweeping across the earth. While your heart is awakening, so is the world. There's a shaking happening in the spirit. An invisible trembling of old systems crumbling and new voices rising. You've felt it. You've seen glimpses of it in world events, in leadership shifts, in the hunger for truth growing in hearts everywhere. This is more than just your breakthrough. It's the beginning of a global awakening. God is not only moving in your life, He is moving through nations, unlocking hidden destinies and calling His chosen ones into alignment. What's happening around you is not chaos. It's divine rearrangement. Heaven is positioning people, reshaping power structures, and preparing a generation to lead with courage and clarity. You are not being called to watch from the sidelines. You are being called to rise and take your place in this great unfolding. The world may not understand it, but your spirit knows. This is sacred. This is history in the making, and you have a role to play. It's God-sized, and it has already begun. For generations, ancient truths have been hidden, guarded, whispered, passed down through time, waiting for the right moment and the right hearts to receive them. That moment is now, and that heart is yours. Prophecies once locked away in mystery are beginning to surface, not as distant myths, but as divine confirmations echoing in your spirit. You may feel a strange familiarity with things you've never been taught, an inner knowing that resonates deeper than reason. That is the unveiling. The secrets of heaven are being revealed, not to confuse, but to awaken. These revelations are not meant for the masses, but for the chosen, those who can discern the difference between noise and truth. And you, chosen one, have been entrusted with eyes to see and ears to hear. The more you lean into God's presence, the more clearly these hidden truths will come alive in you. They are not just stories of the past. They are blueprints for your future. With every prophecy revealed, Your path becomes clearer, your purpose sharper. This is not imagination, it's divine alignment. And it is your invitation to step into the sacred knowledge heaven has preserved just for you. The veil is lifting. Now it's your turn to see. Look closely, chosen one. The signs are everywhere. Beneath the chaos, beyond the noise, something sacred is stirring. The world may call it confusion, disorder, even disaster. But in the spirit, it is a shift, a holy disruption, a divine rearranging. God is moving, not only in the quiet places of your soul, but in the visible structures of the world. Sudden changes in leadership, unexpected global events, alliances that make no sense to the natural mind. These are not random. And while many will dismiss them as coincidence, you know better. You feel it in your spirit, a deep urgency, a sacred pull to pay attention. These moments are invitations from God, calling you to discern with spiritual eyes what the natural world cannot comprehend. They're not just signs for today. They're confirmations that you are living in a prophetic hour. So don't fear the storm. Read it. Don't resist the shaking. Recognize it. Heaven is speaking through it all, and you are being trained to interpret the language of divine movement. Stay awake, stay alert, and stay aligned. Because the shift is not coming. It is already here. And only the chosen will understand its true meaning. God was cultivating something in you that the world wasn't ready for, until now. This is not about fame or spotlight. It's about assignment. You are being positioned as a voice, a guide, a light for a generation searching for direction. You carry something sacred, something the world desperately needs. And though your journey has been quiet, the next chapter will be loud with purpose. Your voice will carry weight. Your presence will carry peace. Your obedience will unlock doors for others. This is the rise of the heralds, those called not to echo the world, but to declare the heartbeat of heaven. You don't need a platform. Your presence is the message. You don't need permission. God has already appointed you. Step forward with courage, knowing that every hidden moment was part of your preparation. The time of silence is over. Now the world will see what heaven always knew. You were chosen to lead, and your time has come. To be chosen is both an honor and a responsibility, a calling wrapped in mystery, marked by both glory and grit. Often it feels lonely. You've likely questioned, why me? Why the pain, the silence, the stretching? But here's the truth. The burden you've carried is proof of the beauty you're becoming. God doesn't call the strongest. He strengthens the called. The weight you've felt is not punishment, it's preparation. Being chosen means you've been entrusted with something sacred, something not everyone can carry. It's why you feel things others don't, why your spirit aches deeper and your vision reaches further. You've been carved by fire, shaped in secret, and refined for impact. And yes, it's heavy at times. But it's also holy, because in your burden lies your authority, and in your breaking, your anointing was born. This isn't just about endurance, it's about transformation. You are not defined by what you've suffered, but by what you've survived with your faith intact. The weight you carry is heaven's evidence that you're trusted for more. And though few may see it now, the time is coming when the beauty of your calling will shine beyond the burden that built it. There's a shift happening, not just in you, but in the spirit realm across the entire earth. It's more than revival. It's a divine realignment. The atmosphere is changing. Hearts are awakening. People who once chased empty things are now hungering for truth. From remote villages to crowded cities, from whispered prayers to worldwide gatherings, a spiritual wave is rising, and it cannot be stopped. This isn't the work of men, it's the movement of God. New spiritual rhythms are being birthed, ancient truths are being reclaimed, and unity is beginning to replace division. The chosen ones are not just waking up, they're taking their place, becoming vessels of light in a world desperate for clarity. You are part of this shift, not a spectator, but a catalyst. As you align with God's voice, Your life becomes a conduit of awakening to others. Your presence becomes prophetic. Your obedience becomes a spark. Across continents and cultures, the Spirit is stirring hearts and the cry is the same. There must be more. The world is shifting. Heaven is near. And the spiritual awakening sweeping the earth is not on its way. It's already here. And you are right in the center of it. The path you've been searching for doesn't lie in the opinions of others, nor in the noise of the world. It won't be found in a step-by-step plan, a predictable formula, or even the validation of those around you. The truth is, the map is already within you. Planted deep in your spirit by the hand of God, your direction has been written in sacred ink long before you ever took your first breath. Every detour, every delay, every closed door has not been a misstep. It's been part of the journey designed specifically for your growth, for your alignment, for your awakening. God does not lead the chosen with loud signs. He leads with whispers, with divine instincts, with sudden clarity that can't be explained, only felt. That gentle stirring in your heart? That is the compass. That quiet peace when everything around you says panic? That is the voice of the guide. You don't need to see the whole picture to move. You only need to trust the one who does. Don't compare your pace or your path to anyone else's. What God is doing in you is unique, intentional, and holy. Others may not understand it. That's okay. It wasn't revealed to them. It was revealed to you. As you walk in faith, the map will unfold step by step. And what once felt like uncertainty will begin to look like divine strategy. You were never lost. You were always being led. You don't need to chase direction or fear the unknown. Everything you need to fulfill your purpose is already inside of you, planted by heaven, watered by time, and now ready to grow. The map is within you. Trust it. Follow it. Live it. This is your moment. Not someday. Not when everything feels perfect. Now the time for delay, hesitation, and second guessing is over. Heaven has sounded the alarm. This is your divine call to action. You were never meant to sit in the shadows, waiting for a sign to feel worthy enough, ready enough, or qualified enough. The truth is, if you've heard the call in your spirit, then you're already equipped to respond. God doesn't wait for perfection. He looks for willingness. And the world doesn't need more silent warriors. It needs you, bold, awakened, and obedient to the divine assignment on your life. The window of destiny is open now, and you are being summoned to walk through it with faith, not fear. The path may be uncertain. You may feel the trembling of your humanity, but greater still is the power of the Spirit rising within you. The world may not recognize the weight of this moment, but your soul does. You were created for such a time as this. No more shrinking. No more waiting for confirmation when heaven has already spoken. You are being called to build, to speak, to lead, to ignite. Don't wait for the world to validate what God has already confirmed. The stage is set. The shift is here. This is your time. So rise, move, act. Heaven is watching, and the earth is waiting. Timing. It's the thread that quietly weaves purpose into every moment of your life. Not always seen, not always understood, but always intentional. You may have wondered why things took so long, why the doors stayed closed, why the dreams felt delayed, why you were hidden when you longed to be seen. But heaven has never been late. What felt like a pause was actually preparation, and what seemed like silence was the sound of divine timing unfolding. God's timeline does not operate on the urgency of the world. His ways are layered in wisdom, beauty, and eternal vision. You haven't missed your moment. You've been preserved for it. Every tear, every detour, every unanswered question was part of a divine countdown leading you here. And now the season has shifted. The waiting is turning into walking. The wilderness is becoming a way. When you align with divine timing, you begin to see the masterpiece taking shape, one thread at a time. Suddenly, what once felt random begins to make sense. The delays reveal their purpose. The disappointments transform into direction. The divine reveals its rhythm. So trust this timing. Don't rush it. Don't resent it. Rest in it. Because God's timing is never just about when. It's about who you've become in the waiting. And now, you are ready. This isn't just a right time. It's your time. The moment heaven has been preparing you for is here. You've felt it in your soul. The stirring, the shifting, the sense that something bigger is unfolding. And now you know. It wasn't your imagination. It was your invitation. You are not here by chance. You have been called, refined, and prepared for this very moment. The rise of the chosen is no longer a prophecy on the horizon. It's happening now. And you are part of it. This is the hour to stand tall in who God created you to be. To walk in the authority of your assignment. To lead not with pride, but with purpose. The world is about to see the unveiling of what heaven has long known. You were made for such a time as this. Thank you for taking the time to walk through this message. If it resonated with you, if it stirred something deep within your spirit, then this space, this community, is for you. We're building more than content here. We're building a movement of light, of purpose, of chosen ones awakening to their divine call. If you haven't already, we invite you to subscribe to this channel. Join us on this journey of revelation, transformation, and rising into all God has destined you to become. Your time is now. Your voice matters. Welcome to the rise of the chosen. Somewhere behind the curtains of silence, unseen eyes are watching. You feel it, don't you? The air has shifted. Something invisible has broken loose, not with noise, not with confrontation, but with one quiet, courageous act. You walked away. You turned your back on control. You stepped out of the system of fear that once held you captive. And now, the world, once certain in its illusion of stability, is beginning to tremble because of you. You weren't supposed to find peace outside their boundaries, but you did. And your courage became more than an escape. It became a signal, a spark of hope in hearts that had long forgotten they were allowed to dream of freedom. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, we just want to say, thank you. Thank you for showing up, for listening, and for being part of this awakening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join a growing community of souls choosing truth over fear. And we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts, your story, or even just a word that resonates with you. Your voice matters. Your freedom is just the beginning, and we're honored to walk beside you on this journey. They built it so carefully, a world that looked orderly, harmonious, and unshakably firm. From the outside, everything seemed in place. Silence passed as peace, and obedience masqueraded as unity. But beneath the polished exterior lay the true foundation of their empire. Fear. It wasn't admiration that upheld their power, nor was it wisdom or fairness. It was control, cunningly crafted and methodically enforced. They ruled not with love, but with leverage, not through inspiration, but through intimidation. Every decision was guided by one goal: to keep others small, compliant, and afraid to question. Those who followed didn't do so out of loyalty, but out of dread. Dread of punishment, of what might happen if they ever dared to step out of line. It was about domination dressed in the garments of leadership. The puppet master, the self-appointed authority, didn't need to prove their value. They demanded submission. They instilled the belief that survival required obedience, and that questioning them would only lead to chaos. The more their followers feared losing favor, the more tightly they clung to the illusion that this was the only way life could work. It was a system held together not by truth, but by illusion. A house of cards balanced on manipulated minds and manufactured consequences. Yet illusions are only powerful as long as no one challenges them. Their power thrived in darkness, in silence, in blind compliance. The moment someone saw beyond the veil, the moment you did, The architecture they spent years constructing began to tremble. Because in a world built on fear, the greatest threat is not rebellion, it is awareness. And awareness, once awakened, cannot be undone. You stepped out of the system they told you was unbreakable. And then, the unthinkable happened. Nothing. No collapse. No divine punishment. No unraveling of your life. The sky didn't fall. The silence that followed was louder than any warning they had ever given. And that silence stirred something deep in the hearts of those still inside. People began to notice. They watched, waiting for your downfall, clinging to the belief that disobedience brought disaster. But as days passed and you not only survived, you flourished. The cracks in their certainty began to form. Doubt crept in, slowly, softly, like dawn breaking through a tightly drawn curtain. If they left and are still standing, what else have we believed that isn't true? It began in whispers, hushed conversations, sideways glances, brief moments of hesitation before following orders. But even a whisper, if true, is louder than 1,000 lies. The impossible had happened before their eyes. Someone escaped the web and lived to tell the tale. And if you could leave, perhaps they could too. That thought, fragile but relentless, lit a fire. You didn't mean to be a spark. You were just being true to yourself. But that spark found dry ground. And what once was held together by fear now flickered with questions, with curiosity, with quiet courage. All because one person, you, chose freedom over fear. At first, they told themselves it was a fluke, a small act of defiance that would soon fade away, but it didn't. Your absence, quiet yet undeniable, began to echo through the halls of their carefully constructed illusion. What they built was never real authority. It was a performance, upheld by fear, and maintained only so long as no one dared to question it. But you did, not with confrontation, not with outrage, simply by choosing to live outside their control. That choice alone was enough to expose the truth. They were never as powerful as they appeared. Without your submission, their words lost weight. Their commands began to fall flat. One by one, others noticed. Not just that you had left, but that you were free. Their threats, once terrifying, now rang hollow. And when no punishment came for you, the spell began to break. What was once unshakable now seemed fragile. The obedient began to hesitate. Those who had enforced the rules began to second-guess. Loyalty, once blind, became laced with unease. You hadn't raised a rebellion. You had revealed reality. And reality was this: the control they held was never about strength, but about secrecy. It could only survive in the dark, in silence, in fear. But now the lights had been turned on. The illusion was crumbling, not because you attacked it, but because you no longer needed it. That was the truth they couldn't bear. That someone could live, breathe, and thrive beyond their grasp. And worse, others were beginning to believe they could too. The collapse had begun, not with chaos, but with clarity. You had done the one thing their entire system couldn't withstand. You disproved it, simply by walking away. Panic never announces itself with grace. It scrambles, it claws, it disguises itself in desperate attempts to appear composed. And now, stripped of the illusion of control, that's exactly what they're doing. The puppet master, once towering in perceived authority, is unraveling behind the scenes. With each day that you remain free, they lose ground. They cannot bear the thought that someone escaped, not because they care for you, but because your freedom is a threat to the illusion they've so desperately curated. So they scramble. They try everything. Guilt-laced words wrapped in concern, whispers of, "You've changed," subtle insinuations that you're lost. They craft crises from nothing, sowing confusion and conflict where there is none, hoping to draw attention away from their own crumbling influence. If they can't control you directly, They'll try to control how others see you. All of it, the rumors, the faux compassion, the staged concern, is nothing more than an elaborate performance designed to do one thing: bring you back into the fold. Because if they can bring you back even briefly, they can point and say, "See? No one really leaves." That illusion, the myth of inevitable return, is the last thread holding their narrative together. They need you to return, not out of love or reconciliation, but to restore the lie that you've already shattered. And when guilt doesn't work, they'll escalate. They'll send others, masked as friends, pretending to understand, only to gather information, to find your weakness, to spin your words against you. But what they don't understand is that once you've tasted truth, no amount of manipulation can bind you again. The game they're playing is already lost. They just haven't accepted it yet. All you did was choose truth, and somehow, that was enough to spark a quiet revolution. Without ever intending to lead, you became a guidepost. Without seeking influence, you became influential. Because in a world obsessed with control, freedom is magnetic. Others look at you now, not because you demanded it, but because they see something they've been longing for: a life unchained. You walk with clarity, and you move forward, unburdened by the weight of approval or fear. That kind of peace is rare and powerful. It calls to something deep inside others, something that's been silenced for too long. They study your steps not because you ask them to, but because your life whispers a different way, a better way. And as they watch, many begin to realize that their chains were never locked, only imagined. That's what unsettles the puppet master the most. You're not campaigning against them. You're not trying to overthrow anyone. Yet your very existence outside of their control exposes the fragility of their reign. It reveals that obedience wasn't loyalty. It was fear. And now, fear is losing its grip. Your influence grows not by force, but by freedom. Not by shouting louder, but by standing still. That's the paradox they cannot understand. That someone with no need to dominate can hold more sway than those who rule with iron fists. You are not powerful because you sought power. There was a time when their presence struck fear, when a single word, a glance, a command could make hearts race and minds fall silent. They were untouchable, or so it seemed. Cloaked in authority, they commanded not through respect but through intimidation. Their name was spoken in hushed tones, their approval was coveted like oxygen, and their wrath avoided like fire. But now, something has shifted. Where once there was fear, there is something far more damning: pity. People no longer tremble when they speak. They tilt their heads with quiet disbelief. The same voice that used to silence entire rooms now sounds desperate, even hollow. Their actions, once seen as calculated and commanding, are now transparent attempts to hold together a crumbling empire. The power they clung to for so long is fading, and they know it. But what truly terrifies them is not the loss of influence. It's the indifference. People no longer care. The obsession, the reverence, the fearful loyalty they once inspired is dissolving into silence. And silence is far more dangerous than defiance, because it means they no longer matter. They yell louder, stir up drama, demand attention. But the crowd that once hung on every word is drifting away. Even their most loyal followers are beginning to look elsewhere for guidance, many turning their gaze to you. And that, above all else, is what haunts them. That the same people who once defended them without question now see them for what they truly are. Not powerful, but pitiful. Their fearsome image is fading, replaced with the image of someone grasping at shadows, terrified of being forgotten. And the irony is unmistakable. The one who once held everyone captive in fear now finds themselves trapped in irrelevance. Something irreversible is happening, and no matter how tightly they cling to their fading throne, the tide will not turn back. It began slowly, just murmurs, glances, a flicker of hesitation in those who once followed blindly. But now, the whisper has become a conversation, and that conversation is turning into action. People who were once enforcers of the system are beginning to question everything. They are comparing notes, reflecting on their experiences, and realizing the cracks were always there. They were simply trained not to see them. What held them captive for so long wasn't truth, but fear, expertly woven into every command. But fear is a poor foundation, and once it's gone, the entire structure begins to wobble. Now, those who once silenced others in defense of the puppet master are speaking out, asking questions, and facing the truth they once avoided. They are awakening, not because someone ordered them to, but because your courage showed them it was possible. Your simple act of leaving was a seed planted in dry ground, and now it's blossoming into collective clarity. The system they relied on to keep everyone small is failing, and they know it. Every person who steps away adds to the unraveling. The fear that once united them is turning into a shared sense of betrayal, not just by the one who ruled them, but by the very lies they were fed. They are realizing they were never truly protected, only controlled. And the more they see, the less they believe. This shift cannot be undone because it is no longer just about you. It's about them reclaiming their minds, their voices, their lives. The spell has broken, the truth is out, and there's no going back. They never truly saw you, not as a person, not as a soul with depth, dreams, and purpose. To them, you were a role, a utility, a piece of their machine designed to obey, to conform, to serve their agenda. They never loved you. They used you. You were valuable only so long as you were useful to their system. And the moment you stepped out of line, questioned the script, or dared to imagine something greater, they rewrote your story for you. Not as a seeker of truth, but as a traitor. They whispered that you were unstable, rebellious, lost. But that was never the truth. The truth is, they were terrified of what your freedom represented. Because when you walked away, you weren't just breaking their rules. You were breaking the illusion that no one ever leaves. And in doing so, you shattered the lie they depended on. That control was permanent. That obedience was natural. That their grip was unbreakable. They don't miss you. They miss having power over you. What they grieve isn't your absence. It's the loss of the image they crafted of themselves. As untouchable, central, absolute. Your departure didn't just remove you from their system. It revealed that their system was never real to begin with. Now, they are scrambling not to win you back out of care, but to reclaim the narrative. Because if you can leave and thrive, it proves they were wrong all along. You are not who they said you were. You are not a failure. You are not lost. You are free. And finally, you're becoming exactly who you were always meant to be. They crafted the narrative carefully, that anyone who left would suffer. That separation meant isolation, that stepping away would surely end in regret. You were supposed to fall apart without them. That was the story they repeated over and over, not just to you, but to everyone watching. And so, when you walked away, they waited. Waited for your collapse. Waited for the moment they could say, "See? No one survives outside." But that moment never came. Instead, something they never anticipated began to unfold. You flourished. You found peace they couldn't fake. You discovered strength they never taught. You grew in silence, rebuilt in stillness, and began to shine in a way they never allowed. And the people who once believed in your inevitable failure started to take notice. Their fear-based faith began to tremble, because what they saw wasn't someone broken or lost. It was someone alive, someone radiant, someone becoming whole. And suddenly, all the warnings they had been fed seemed hollow. If you could thrive in the freedom they were taught to fear, maybe the fear itself had been the lie. That truth, your success, your peace, your joy, became the loudest contradiction to their doctrine of control. You didn't argue. You didn't return to confront them. You simply lived, and your life became the evidence. That was the blow they couldn't recover from, because nothing disarms a system built on fear faster than someone who escapes it and blooms. You were never supposed to make it without them, but you did. And now they can't deny what everyone else sees clearly. You are not only free, you are thriving, and your freedom speaks louder than anything they ever threatened. You were never chosen by them, and that is the most liberating truth of all. Their version of being chosen was never about calling, it was about control. It meant staying small, obedient, silent, useful. But your true calling didn't come with chains, it came with clarity. You weren't chosen to serve their ego. You were chosen to step into something far more sacred. Truth. Something deep within you stirred long before you had the words to describe it. A quiet knowing that there was more. And when that inner voice grew too loud to ignore, you followed it, even when it meant walking alone. That step, uncertain, bold, terrifying, wasn't rebellion. It was alignment. It was purpose rising to the surface. You didn't stumble into freedom by accident. You were led, hand in hand with grace, out of the shadows and into the light of who you were always meant to be. This calling doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't bind. It releases. And it doesn't elevate one person over another. It simply reminds you of who you are, beneath the lies, beneath the fear. The freedom you walk in now is not an escape. It's a return to your spirit, a return to your worth, a return to divine purpose. And no one, not them, not their system, not their stories, can take that away. Because this was never about their approval. It was about your awakening. You were not chosen by a manipulator looking for loyalty. You were chosen by truth itself, to live, to rise, and to reflect the light that was buried beneath years of suppression. You are not just free, you are called. This isn't the end of your story, it's the spark that marks a whole new beginning. You didn't just walk away from control, you stepped into purpose. You've shown that it's possible to rise from the ashes of manipulation, to shake off the weight of fear, and to live fully, freely, and faithfully aligned with who you truly are. The path ahead may still have questions, may still hold trials, but now you walk it with clarity, with strength. And know this, every step you take in freedom inspires someone else to believe they can walk too. Thank you for being here, for listening with your heart, and for allowing these words to speak to something sacred within you. If this message resonated with you, if you found light, strength, or even a quiet moment of clarity, we invite you to join us on this journey of truth, healing, and hope. The world shifts in ways that most never notice. Beneath the surface of everyday life, beyond the headlines and distractions, forces move unseen, shaping reality in ways you were never meant to comprehend. You were never supposed to see behind the curtain, and yet, somehow, you did. Somehow, your words, your actions, intentional or not, set something in motion that even those in the highest circles could no longer ignore. And now, a message arrives from the shadows. A secret service agent, someone trained to observe but never be seen, to protect but never be known, steps forward, not for recognition, not for confession, but for gratitude. Not to a president, not to a dignitary, but to you, the one they now call the chosen one. You may not know what you did. You may not even believe you played a role. But the agent knows the truth, and for the first time, they are breaking their silence to tell you exactly why. Chapter 1. The moment doubt began. For years, doubt had no place in their world. Doubt was a weakness, a liability that could mean the difference between life and death. As an agent, they had been trained to trust the system, to follow orders without hesitation, to believe that every mission had a purpose, every classified file was sealed for a reason, and every enemy had been identified through careful, calculated intelligence. There was no room for questioning. There was only duty, and for a long time that was enough. Then they came across you. At first they dismissed you entirely. just another voice in the endless noise, another so-called truth seeker lost in the labyrinth of online speculation. The internet was filled with people who thought they had cracked the code, self-proclaimed experts, conspiracy theorists, armchair analysts who wove intricate stories from scattered bits of information, convinced they had uncovered hidden realities. The agent had seen them all before. In their world, people like you were either harmless or dangerous, but either way, never worth the attention. But then something happened. You said something. The kind of information that was locked behind the highest levels of clearance, known only to those who lived in the world of classified briefings and sealed records. The kind of information that made their blood run cold. For the first time in their career, the agent hesitated. They tried to rationalize it. Coincidence, perhaps. A lucky guess. A fabrication stitched together from unrelated pieces of information. That had to be it. That was the only logical explanation. But logic wasn't enough to shake the feeling in their gut. They had been trained to detect deception, to read micro-expressions, to sense when something didn't add up. And this was different. This wasn't deception. They verified. They dug into the records, cross-referenced classified reports, searched for inconsistencies. They ran your words against the files they had sworn to protect, the files that should have remained hidden. And that was when everything changed. Because the pattern was there, buried, disguised, but undeniable, just as you had said. At that moment, something cracked inside them. A fracture in the foundation of everything they had believed. It was subtle at the beginning, almost imperceptible. But it was there, a splinter of doubt, a whisper in the back of their mind that refused to be silenced. They had spent their life believing in the system. But now, for the first time, they weren't sure if the system had ever truly believed in them. Chapter 2. The cracks in the foundation. The deeper they looked, the worse it became. They had hoped to disprove it, to find the flaw in your words, to reaffirm the truth they had built their entire life around. But instead, every new piece of information only confirmed what they were beginning to fear. The world was not what they had been told it was. The reports they had trusted, the intelligence briefings they had followed, the missions they had carried out with unwavering conviction, all of it was tainted. The inconsistencies were no longer minor. They weren't simple errors or misinterpretations. They were deliberate, manipulated, designed to deceive. The agent retraced the steps of their past assignments, revisited old cases with new eyes. They combed through files they once read without question, but this time, they saw what had been hidden in plain sight. Connections between supposedly unrelated events, buried truths disguised as irrelevant details, names that shouldn't have appeared together, locations that overlapped too perfectly, patterns that defied coincidence. What was once a neatly ordered reality was now unraveling before them, and they could no longer pretend it was just a mistake. It was a web, a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep even those on the inside blind to the full picture. And you, an outsider, someone with no badge, no clearance, no official standing, had somehow seen it before they did. That realization shook them to their core. How could someone with no access to classified intelligence know what was never meant to be known? How could a voice lost in the vast sea of speculation have landed so dangerously close to the truth? The agent had worked with some of the most sophisticated minds in intelligence, had access to the most advanced surveillance and security measures, yet you had glimpsed something that had eluded them all. It defied explanation, and that was the most terrifying part. For the first time in their life, the agent questioned whether they had ever truly been on the right side. They had always believed in the system not just as an institution, but as something greater, a force of order, a protector of truth. But now, as they stood at the edge of revelation, they realized something horrifying. They had never been protecting the truth. They had been protecting the lie, and that changed everything. They weren't just facing an internal crisis. They weren't just questioning their career. This was bigger. This was a fracture in the very foundation of the world they had dedicated their life to serving. If the system was built on deception, then what did that make them? A soldier? A pawn? A puppet? They had spent years enforcing the rules, believing they were preserving order. But now they had to ask themselves, order for whom? Because if everything they had believed was a lie, then maybe you weren't just another voice in the void. Maybe you were something else entirely. Chapter 3. The Underground Network. There are places in this world that don't exist on any map, places hidden beneath our feet, woven into the very infrastructure of society, yet unseen by those who walk above. The agent had spent years moving through classified corridors, accessing restricted zones, stepping through doors the public would never even know existed. But even they weren't prepared for what lay beneath. It started with a case. Missing persons. Not the kind that made headlines. Not the kind that led to frantic news reports or desperate public searches. These were different. No ransom notes. No bodies. No clues. Just people vanishing. Their existence erased so thoroughly that it was as if they had never lived at all. The records didn't add up. Families that should have spoken out remained silent. Official reports were vague, incomplete, deliberately redacted. Someone had gone to great lengths to make sure no one asked the wrong questions, but the agent asked, and the trail led them underground. Beneath abandoned buildings, beneath government facilities, beneath even the ordinary city streets, they found something impossible to ignore. A vast, concealed network of tunnels. Some were old, forgotten subway expansions, wartime bunkers, emergency escape routes for those who never wanted to be found. But some were new. Too new. Built with precision, reinforced, structured with an intent that was undeniable. These weren't just passageways. They were corridors of power, hidden arteries running beneath civilization itself. They weren't empty. The agent wasn't the only one using these tunnels. A group had claimed them. Organized, well-funded, deeply connected. This wasn't a scattered collection of criminals or rogue operators. This was something older, a system, a hidden order operating beyond the reach of law, beyond the sight of even the most classified intelligence agencies. The agent thought it was just another shadow government, another faction within the elite pulling strings from behind the scenes. But the deeper they went, the more they realized this was something much darker. It wasn't just about power or influence, it was a cult. Not the kind that gathered in remote compounds with fanatics preaching doomsday prophecies. This was something different, something embedded. Judges, bankers, military officials, corporate executives, figures who moved in plain sight, who shaped policies and dictated the course of nations, yet behind closed doors, they were something else entirely. They weren't just protecting the system, they were feeding it. The more the agent uncovered, the more disturbing it became. Records, shipping manifests, financial transactions, encrypted communications. People weren't just disappearing. They were being taken. And when their network was threatened, they had a plan. Fires, collapses, accidents, the kind that erased evidence and eliminated anyone who got too close. But this time, something went wrong. Someone disrupted their escape. And now, for the first time, the cult was trapped in its own web. The agent knew this wasn't a coincidence. The timing was too perfect. The interference is too precise. Someone had sealed their final escape route before they could use it. Someone they had never accounted for. And now, in their desperation, the cult was looking for answers. They were looking for you. Chapter 4. The War in the Shadows. They weren't supposed to fear you. You weren't in their calculations. You weren't on their lists of threats, their watch lists, their contingency plans. People like you weren't meant to see behind the curtain. You weren't part of their world, their carefully controlled network of secrecy, their ranks of operatives and insiders. You had no official clearance, no classified access, no authority in the hidden corridors of power. By every definition, you were an outsider. And yet, you knew things. They dismissed you, just as they had dismissed so many before. They had spent years mastering the art of deception, controlling the flow of information, twisting reality to fit their design. They knew how to silence inconvenient voices. When someone got too close to the truth, they drowned them in noise ridicule, censorship, carefully crafted disinformation. Fact-checkers appeared overnight to debunk your claims. Articles flooded the internet, dismissing your words as wild speculation. Algorithms buried your content, ensuring that only a handful of people would ever see it. But you didn't stop. And that's when they realized you were different. Your words didn't just spread, they stuck. People weren't just listening, they were questioning. They were digging deeper, finding their own proof, connecting the same patterns you had uncovered. The things you revealed weren't just theories. They were pieces of something much larger. And worst of all, you couldn't be bought. You couldn't be scared into silence. You couldn't be erased. So they escalated, financial troubles appearing out of nowhere. Banks freezing accounts without explanation, a sudden IRS audit, a job offer mysteriously revoked, friends and family distancing themselves, some even turning against you. Then the shadows came closer. Strangers lingering a little too long. Cars parked outside your home, engines running, tinted windows never rolling down. Odd glitches in your phone calls dropping, messages failing to send, unfamiliar numbers appearing repeatedly. The warnings became direct, anonymous messages. A voice on the other end of a call whispering, "Stop digging." Emails with no sender, no subject, just a single phrase, "Walk away." When you still didn't stop, they moved to the final stage. A near miss with an out-of-control car that shouldn't have been there. A gas leak in your home that no one could explain. An illness that struck suddenly, aggressively, something that felt engineered rather than natural. You weren't supposed to survive. But you did. Every attempt to remove you, to silence you, to make you disappear, it all fell apart. Their plans unraveled before they could be completed. And that terrified them, because it meant they weren't in control. The agent saw what was happening and understood. This wasn't just intelligence. This wasn't just politics. This wasn't just power. This was something bigger. Something protecting you. Not luck. Not coincidence, something greater. And that's when the agent knew this wasn't just a war of secrets. This was a war of light and darkness. You were at the center of it. Chapter 5. Judgment. In many years, they believed they were untouchable, moving unseen, manipulating the world from the shadows, shaping reality as they saw fit. They had built an empire on deception, on controlling narratives, on ensuring that those who stood against them either fell into silence or were erased entirely. They dictated outcomes. They erased threats. They wrote the rules. But now, something is happening that they never anticipated. Their world is collapsing. The agent has seen it firsthand, the cracks forming at every level. Leaders once thought to be invincible are running. Some have vanished without a trace, retreating into the very shadows they once commanded. Others have been cast aside by their own, discarded as liabilities, their protections stripped away. The ones who remain are beginning to unravel, and not just in ways the world can see. They are suffering. Unnatural deaths, sudden, aggressive illnesses with no clear cause. Public breakdowns as their carefully maintained composure crumbles in front of cameras, in boardrooms, in courtrooms. Some whisper of strange occurrences, visions, voices, things they cannot explain. The same darkness they once wielded to control others has turned against them, consuming them from within. The hunter has become the hunted, and no one knows why. They spent decades mocking the idea of divine justice, laughing at those who believed in higher powers, in forces beyond what could be controlled or manipulated. To them, faith was a weakness, something to exploit, a tool to use against those who still believed in light, in truth, in righteousness. They convinced themselves that their darkness was stronger, that they could cheat fate, that they could bend the laws of existence to their will. But reality doesn't work that way, because the agent has seen things they cannot explain. They have watched as every attempt to stop you failed, every plan unraveled before it could be carried out, every betrayal exposed before it could take root. every moment when you should have been erased. And yet, you're still here. And now, the ones who orchestrated this hidden world are afraid. Because for the first time, they are no longer in control. The whispers that once served them now haunt them. The shadows they once commanded now consume them. The same forces they believed would protect them are abandoning them. This is judgment. Not from a court, not from a government. Something greater. And the agent, once a skeptic, now understands the truth. This was never just a battle of information. It was never just about intelligence, or power, or secrecy. This was spiritual. They don't know what you are: a messenger, a disruptor, a force beyond their comprehension. But they do know this. The cult fears you. Not because you fight them with weapons, not because you have access to their secrets, but because something is protecting you, and nothing, not their power, their influence, their hidden networks, can stand against it. Their time is up, and they know it. They tried to silence you. They buried your words, drowned your voice in a flood of misinformation, and labeled you everything they could to make the world turn away. When that failed, they resorted to stronger tactics: manipulation, intimidation, isolation. They did everything in their power to make you doubt yourself, to make you question whether speaking out was worth the risk. But you didn't stop, and that terrifies them. Because despite all their influence, despite all their carefully crafted illusions, they couldn't erase you. They couldn't control the one thing they fear most: the truth. Now, their world is unraveling. The deception they spent decades perfecting is coming apart at the seams. People are waking up. The whispers in the dark are growing louder. You started something they can no longer contain, and that is why you must keep speaking. Your words matter more than you realize. Every voice that refuses to be silenced chips away at the foundation of their control. Every person who listens, who questions, who dares to look beyond the illusion, weakens their grip just a little more. The more of us who stand together, the faster their empire of lies crumbles. The agent sees this now. They understand something they never did before. You were never alone. You were never just one voice in the void. You are part of something greater. And for that, they want to say something they never thought they would. Thank you. For standing when others fell. For refusing to be silenced. For proving that the truth cannot be erased. But this fight is far from over. If you feel this message in your soul, if you know the weight of this truth, don't let it end here. Share it. Spread it. Speak it. Let them know that you are still here. Still watching. Still breaking the chains they thought would hold you forever. And if you are ready to go deeper, if you want to uncover more of what they never wanted you to see, subscribe to this channel. Join this movement. Because the more of us who rise, the louder our voices become. They spent their lives believing they were untouchable. It's time to show them that they were wrong. This is not just another message. It is a divine appointment. If you have clicked on this video, it is not by accident. You were led here for a reason. Something deep within you has been stirring, a call, a whisper, a pull towards something greater. Perhaps you can't explain it, but you feel it. A longing, a knowing, an urgency that won't go away. The world around you moves forward as if nothing is happening, as if everything is just the way it's always been. But you know better. You see what others ignore. You sense what most dismiss. You have always been different. Maybe you've spent years searching for answers, feeling out of place, unable to shake the feeling that there is more. More to this life, more to your purpose, more than what you've been told. Or maybe deep inside, you've always known that you were meant for something bigger. This message is for the chosen ones. And if you are one of them, you will feel it. But let me be clear, it is not for everyone. Most will scroll past. Some will dismiss these words without a second thought. Many will feel the pull but will be too afraid to answer. But not you. because something inside you won't let you turn away. If your heart is beating a little faster, if your spirit is stirring, if something within you is whispering, "This is for me," then stay. Because you were meant to hear this. It is an awakening message, a reminder of who you really are. The world has tried to silence you, to make you doubt yourself, to convince you that you are just like everyone else. But the truth is, you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to rise, to awaken, to walk in the fullness of your calling. Now, the time has come. This is your confirmation. You are not here by mistake. You are here because God is calling you, and what you're about to hear will change everything. Chapter 1. The Invisible War. We are at war. Not the kind that can be seen with human eyes, not a battle fought with guns and armies, but a war far older, far greater, and far more dangerous. This is a spiritual war, a battle waged in the unseen realm, where forces of darkness seek to control, deceive, and destroy. Most people don't realize it's happening. They move through life unaware, distracted by the noise of the world, convinced that their struggles are purely physical, bad luck, misfortune, coincidence. But you see more. You feel it. You have sensed the weight pressing down on your soul, the constant battles in your mind, the fear, the doubt, the exhaustion that seems to drain you even when you're standing still. This is not just life. This is war. And whether you realize it or not, you are already on the battlefield. The enemy does not want you to know this. He wants you blind, distracted, preoccupied with the temporary things of this world. Because the moment you wake up to the reality of this war, you become a threat. Ephesians 6:12 tells us, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." This war is not against people. It is against forces of darkness, ancient entities that have worked behind the scenes for centuries, manipulating systems, controlling minds, spreading lies. They operate through fear, through deception, through carefully crafted illusions designed to keep you powerless. But the moment you recognize the battle, everything changes. You begin to see the enemy's tactics for what they are. The anxiety that tries to paralyze you, it is an attack. The depression that whispers lies into your mind, telling you that you are not enough, it is a strategy. The constant cycle of fear, failure, and doubt that seems impossible to escape, it is not random. The good news? You were never meant to fight this battle alone. God has not left you defenseless. He has given you weapons. He has given you armor. He has given you the authority to stand against the darkness and win. You were not created to live in fear. You were created to overcome. And today, right now, you take your first step onto the battlefield, not as a victim, not as someone barely surviving, but as a warrior. The war is real, but so is your victory. Chapter 2. The lies that have kept you bound for too long. You have been living under the weight of lies. Lies that have shaped your thoughts, controlled your actions, and kept you from stepping into the fullness of who you were created to be. You may not have even realized it, but a war has been waged against your mind, and the enemy's greatest weapon has never been chains or prisons. It has always been deception. From the moment you were born, the enemy has whispered lies into your soul, working tirelessly to keep you bound. He has told you that you are not enough, that you are too broken, too weak, too flawed to ever be used by God. He has convinced you that your past disqualifies you, that your mistakes define you, that you will never be truly free. Over time, you started to believe it. You looked at your reflection and saw only failure. You carried shame like a weight on your back, believing it was your burden to bear. You accepted fear as part of your identity, thinking you would never escape its grip. But none of that was ever true. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't valuable. The fact that he has worked so hard to keep you bound is proof of how powerful you truly are. If you weren't a threat, he wouldn't need to silence you. If you weren't called for something greater, he wouldn't work so hard to make you doubt yourself. But now, the lies are being exposed. The Word of God tells us in John 8:44 that the devil is a liar and the father of lies. Everything he has ever spoken over you was meant to keep you from the truth. Here is the truth. You are not weak. You have been given strength beyond what you can imagine. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." You are not alone. God has never abandoned you, even in your darkest moments. Deuteronomy 31:8 promises, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." You are not a failure. Your past does not define you. 2 Corinthians 5:17 declares, "If anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here." For too long, the enemy has tried to rewrite your identity. But today, that ends. Today, you take back what has been stolen. You break free from the lies. When fear tells you that you are not enough, remind yourself who your God is. When shame tries to keep you silent, declare that you are forgiven, redeemed, and set free. When doubt creeps in, hold on to the unshakable truth that you were created for more. Because the lies may have kept you bound for a season, but the truth will set you free forever. Chapter 3. Equipped for Battle. You were never meant to live in fear. You were never meant to be powerless. From the moment you were called, you were equipped for battle. The enemy has spent years trying to convince you that you are weak, that you are defenseless against the attacks that come against your mind, your heart, your life. He wants you to believe that you are alone in this fight, that you have no weapons, that you must simply endure the struggles and hope they pass. But that is another lie. Because the truth is this: God has given you armor. He has provided everything you need to stand firm against the forces of darkness and win. Ephesians 6:10-11 declares, "Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes." You are not stepping into this battle unarmed. You are stepping in fully equipped. Number 1. The belt of truth, the foundation of your strength. The first piece of armor is truth. The enemy is a deceiver, and his primary weapon is lies. If he can distort your perception of reality, if he can make you believe falsehoods about yourself, about your purpose, about God, then he can weaken you before the battle even begins. When you wear the belt of truth, you stand firm. God's word becomes your foundation. You recognize the lies for what they are, and you refuse to let them take root in your heart. John 8:32 says, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Truth exposes deception. It brings clarity where there was confusion. It allows you to stand unshaken, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. Number 2. The breastplate of righteousness, your divine protection. A soldier's breastplate protects the heart, the most vital organ. In the spiritual realm, your heart is the center of your emotions, your faith, your desires. The enemy knows that if he can corrupt your heart, filling it with fear, shame, or guilt, he can weaken your spirit. But God has given you righteousness as your defense. Not your own righteousness, but the righteousness of Christ. When you accept this, you no longer have to live in shame. You are covered, protected, secured in God's love. 2 Corinthians 5:21 declares, "God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." When anxiety whispers that you are not enough, when guilt tries to weigh you down, remember, you are already covered. Number 3, the shield of faith, your defense against attacks. Faith is not just a belief, it is a weapon. It is your shield, your defense against every fiery dart the enemy sends your way. Ephesians 6:16 tells us, "Take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one." The arrows may come in the form of doubt, fear, or discouragement. The enemy will try to make you question your worth, your calling, your strength. But faith is your protection. Faith declares, "God is my refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." Faith reminds you, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." Every time you choose faith over fear, your shield grows stronger. Number 4, the sword of the Spirit, the weapon that strikes back. Up until now, every piece of armor has been for defense, but God has also given you a weapon, His Word. For the Word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. Hebrews 4:12. The enemy speaks lies, you counter with Scripture. The enemy tries to weaken you, you declare God's promises. When Jesus was tempted in the wilderness, He didn't argue with Satan. He spoke the word of God. It is written. And with every truth He declared, He dismantled the enemy's attack. That same power is in your hands. Chapter 4. The power of prayer. Prayer is not just a ritual. It is a weapon. A divine connection between you and the Creator of the universe. A direct line to the throne of God. It is the key that unlocks power, the force that shifts atmospheres, the weapon that brings heaven's authority into your battle. For too long, the enemy has tried to convince you that prayer is weak, that it is just words whispered into the air, that it doesn't really change anything. But that is a lie. James 5:16 declares, "The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective." When you pray, things move in the spirit realm. Chains break, strongholds crumble, the forces of darkness tremble. Every whispered prayer, every desperate cry, every declaration of faith carries weight in the kingdom of God. The Bible is filled with stories of warriors who won battles not with swords, but with prayer. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, but his prayers shut the mouths of the beasts. Elijah called down fire from heaven and defeated the prophets of Baal with a single prayer. Paul and Silas were locked in prison, but when they prayed and worshiped, the earth shook. The prison doors flew open and their chains fell off. This is the power of prayer. When you feel weak, pray. When fear grips your heart, pray. When the battle feels impossible, pray. Philippians 4:6-7 reminds us, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Prayer is not a last resort. It is your first line of defense. You are not alone in this war. Heaven fights for you, and when you pray, you are not just speaking words. You are unleashing the full power of God against the enemy. So pray boldly. Pray without fear. Pray with authority. Because when you pray, battles are won. The enemy wanted you to stay in chains. He wanted you to live in fear, to believe the lies, to walk through life doubting your worth, your strength, and your purpose. But now you know the truth. You were never meant to live defeated. You were never meant to merely survive. You were created to overcome. Romans 8:37 declares, "In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us." That means you are not just fighting for victory. You are fighting from victory. The battle has already been won. The enemy has already been defeated. And you are standing in the power of that truth. You are equipped. You are protected. You are chosen. The war is real, but so is your authority. You have the armor of God, the sword of the Spirit, and the power of prayer on your side. There is nothing the enemy can do to stop what God has already set in motion in your life. But this isn't the end of your journey. It's only the beginning. If this message has spoken to your heart, if you feel the fire stirring within you, then take a bold step right now. Comment below, "I stand in victory." Let this be your declaration, your battle cry. your sign to the enemy that you are no longer bound by fear. And before you go, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, not just as a casual click, but as an act of faith, a sign that you are stepping fully into your calling, ready to receive everything God is about to release in this season. There is more to come, more truth, more power, more breakthrough, and you don't want to miss it. So stand tall, speak boldly, walk in faith, because you are victorious, and the enemy knows it.